Chapter 559. After learning about the method to produce the blood source, Hidorigami did not hesitate at all. He led his clansmen in a new round of slaughter. As the heavens fell and the earth cracked, Hanba was severely injured. The pursuit and escape began. In just 8 years, the corpse race had occupied a quarter of the southern territory of the Sunluo land. However, the Netherworld clan was still preparing for war, waiting for the arrival of the Baki army at any time. These children were obviously different from the mirage monsters in the past. Their bodies were stronger, and they had a strong desire for blood since they were little. It seemed that the scales of victory were gradually tilting towards the corpse race. The third type only existed in legends, and it was known as the Blood Sea origin. Only its name was left behind, and no one knew its origins or how it was born. The curse still existed. As for why they had come to the Sunluo region, the elder of the Netherbat clan guessed that it might be because the war had led to the extinction of their clan, and they had no choice but to leave the Hell region and come to the Sunluo region. They even changed their name to the Mirage Monsters to avoid being hunted by their enemies. The control of corpse chi, the usage of chi and blood, the creation of zombies, and so on, but this time they were obviously wrong, and they paid a painful price for it. The corpse race in the south developed rapidly in such an environment. During this period, Hidorigami formed the Corpse Plucking Legion. Only the most outstanding warriors in the tribe could join it. Because so many years had passed, his sister still showed no signs of waking up. This was something Hidorigami could not accept. The southern side of the Sunluo region welcomed its darkest hour. After losing Hanba and the powerful Corpse Plucking Legion, the Corpse clan suffered heavy losses just as they were about to see victory. The rise of the corpse race was something that the people of the Netherworld race could never have imagined, even in their dreams. In the short span of a dozen years, the southern part of the great region had already undergone earth-shattering changes. It was no longer the region that was under their control. In the blink of an eye, the blood child in Hidorigami's eyes had turned into a god-level powerhouse that even he could not defeat. Without exception, these Netherworld race investigators who had entered the southern part of the territory had all been mercilessly devoured by the corpse race. This discovery sent Hidorigami into ecstasy. They had ruled the Sunluo region for a long time. In the eyes of the Netherworld clansmen, enemies could only come from outside the region. Along the way, many forces were crushed under the demonic god's feet. The demonic god who had lost his mind crashed through the iceberg of the Arctic abyss and followed Hidorigami into the land of Baki. They were looking forward to defeating the Nether race under the leadership of the Drought Demon Forefather and becoming the overlord of the Sunluo region. After carefully examining Meiba's physical condition, the Dark Bat clan's elder told them the reason. That was the source of blood. On the other hand, Hidorigami and her sister were different. Although the Netherworld race was furious about this, they didn't think that this force could contend with their Netherworld race. It was hard to tell whether it was a blessing or a curse in the blink of an eye. As it turned out, the Mirage Monsters weren't native to the Sunluo domain but a branch of the Corpse clan from the Infernal domain. Since he had made up his mind, Hidorigami naturally would not hold back. The name Mirage Monsters, on the other hand, only represented the humiliation of being ruled by the Nether race. Hanba wanted a new life. This was undoubtedly a slap to the Netherworld clansman's face. He was the demonic god, the mortal enemy of Hanba. From the elder of the Netherbat clan, Hidorigami also found out that their entire clan had been cursed by the gods. It was also at this time that Hidorigami learned about the origins of his clan. This was also the reason why the siblings were so different when compared to their clansmen. It was also the truth that Hanba's talent far surpassed his clansmen. His goal was to slaughter the other clansmen in the Sunluo domain while fighting against the Netherworld race and use their blood to refine a blood source to remove the god's curse in his sister's body. During this period, many clansmen were slaughtered, and all of them were refined into blood sources by Hidorigami. There was no exception. including the Netherbat clan who used to curry favor with Hitorigami. This undoubtedly alarmed the higher-ups of the Netherworld race. That day, the giant clan faced a destructive blow. The corpse clan descended from the sky, and the entire clan fought back with all their might. However, facing the powerful corpse-plucking legion, their resistance was useless. However, at this time, something happened that changed the situation of the Sunluo domain again. Faced with the death of his clansman, the little boy angrily questioned why he did this. Perhaps even Frozen didn't expect that accidentally killing a member of the Netherworld race who trespassed on his territory would have such a huge impact on the Sunluo domain. However, breaking through the god's curse didn't mean that the curse would disappear completely. In the end, they didn't wait for the return of the 23rd Elder. Instead, an unexpected new force came. The Mirage monsters were like a black curtain that covered all the forces in the south, making it hard for them to breathe. The method was very simple, which was blood sacrifice. They used the blood of a large number of lives to condense precious blood sources. After the war in the Big Region, the Netherworld race, which had been heavily injured, was extremely vigilant against the cold current coming from Baki. This way of growth matched the Mirage monsters' racial talent, so the Mirage monsters quickly grew stronger. Although she was still very weak, and her body remained in the shape of a child, Hitorigami was still very happy. He knew that his hard work had finally paid off. So he tried to scare the little boy, telling him that he was going to eat him. There was no reason. If there was, it was because the boy was too weak. The Netherbat clan didn't want to become enemies with this god of slaughter, so they didn't dare to neglect him. The clan elder greeted him in person. The Mirage monsters were no longer the Mirage monsters they used to be, but a brand new clan. He was not afraid of the Netherworld race. After a long and comfortable reign, the Netherworld race looked down on all the forces in the Big Region. They felt that their resistance would only be like moths flying into flames. He wanted to know why his sister became like this. Fate is always elusive. Then, the Mirage monsters began endless plundering and killing. Hitorigami smiled, very happily. To him, it was really interesting that the natural blood essence, a spiritual creature of heaven and earth, had turned into a creature with feelings. He, who had been studying the blood essence, was sure that it was the natural blood essence, a super treasure that was countless times more powerful than the inferior blood essence he made. From the old Netherbat clan elder, Hitorigami learned that the blood essence was divided into 3 categories. Not only Hitorigami, but the Mirage monsters who followed him also realized their great potential. Not only the Netherworld race, but even the Corpse clan thought so. Because it meant that his sister's curse could finally be completely removed. The enemy's blood was the nourishment for their growth. Because they broke the curse seal of the gods the moment they were born. In the killing, he gradually understood the importance of power and the principle of the law of the jungle. Just as the Netherbat clan's elder had said, this drop of blood essence had awakened his slumbering younger sister. It could be said that the Netherworld race had witnessed Hitorigami's rise. In just a few hundred years, Hitorigami's terrifying growth completely shocked them. This was a very miraculous substance that could be swallowed to obtain powerful blood energy. For the Corpse clan, it was a rare treasure that could improve their strength. The blood essence also had another function, which was to wash away the curse power in the body. So, the war broke out. It was the first large-scale battle between the Corpse clan and the Netherworld race. It was a tug-of-war. The Corpse clan exerted their racial characteristics, which were to nurture themselves through war. The tug-of-war lasted for a long time. The dozen or so Corpse clan elders who had followed Hitorigami at the beginning all died in battle, and the new members of the Corpse clan took their place. The war became more and more intense. As the Mirage monsters' children grew up, the Mirage monsters expanded for the first time. While Hitorigami was planning for this, the Netherworld race, which hadn't received any resources from the south, finally realized something was wrong and sent people to the south of the territory to investigate. For this reason, He changed the name of his race to the Corpse Clan, because this was their real name. Without being forced, he would never know how great his potential was. The racial talents of the Mirage monsters were constantly excavated during this period. However, the defeated Corpse Clan retreated like hyenas and attacked again when the time was right. The dozen or so people who followed Hidorigami gave birth to the first batch of children. However, Hidorigami didn't know that the turning point of fate was quietly approaching. The 23rd Elder's absence worried the higher-ups of the Netherworld race very much, because in their opinion, it was a sign of Baki's hostility. From being unable to resist at the beginning to slowly turning the tables, the growth of the Corpse Clan and Hidorigami frightened the Netherworld race. During this period, the higher-ups of the Netherworld race besieged Hidorigami several times, but he escaped every time. In order to wake his sister from her deep sleep, Hidorigami's mentality changed from a weak child to a strong one. The scale of victory had completely tilted to the Corpse Clan's side. To the Netherworld race, it was only a matter of time before they were expelled from the land of Sunluo. After exterminating the giant clan, Hidorigami saw the blood essence. Time flew by. In the endless war and massacre, the Corpse Clan had become so powerful that even the Netherworld race was afraid of them. It was a little boy with red skin. On this day, Hidorigami, who was planning the final battle with the Netherworld race, suddenly sensed a strong breath of the blood essence. The few teams he sent out were all annihilated and turned into food for the Corpse Clan's growth. Although the curse was not fatal, it still caused his sister to be in a coma. During this period, the Netherworld race did not care about what happened in the south of the land of Sunluo. For this reason, the new king of the Netherworld race sent the 23rd Elder to Baki to investigate the situation. At the same time, the clan prepared for the worst and began to prepare for war. After sacrificing so much, Hidorigami finally managed to refine the first drop of inferior blood essence. In the past, the Netherworld race might have been the supreme master in the eyes of the Mirage clan. However, to Hidorigami at this time, the Netherworld race would only be a stumbling block that would hinder him from carrying out the massacre to refine the blood essence. This curse would continue for generations, sealing their potential and preventing them from being able to fully unleash their potential. This battle was finally coming, and Hidorigami was ready. The first type was natural blood essence, born from heaven and earth. It could be a living creature or a plant. The second type was inferior blood essence, which could be produced. During their conversation, the negative emotions in the blood child, the demonic god, erupted. The Corpse Clan was defeated and suffered heavy losses. Hidorigami, who understood the reason, panicked. He asked the elder of the Dark Bat clan how to break the curse in his sister's body and wake her up. What he needed now was to produce more blood essences, or even search for natural blood essences to help his sister completely dispel the power of the curse in her body. In other words, the stick from the foreigner was not the cause of his sister's coma. At most, it could only be regarded as a lure. The real reason was that his sister was being eroded by the curse. The elder of the Dark Bat clan did not hide this point and told him the solution. Something else happened during these 8 years. They never expected that when they were on tenterhooks about the possible war in Baki, a force that dared to resist their rule appeared in the land of Sunluo. The outcome was set. To Hidorigami at that time, it was a happy event. Nothing could make him happier than discovering the natural blood essence. However, during this period, the hostility in Hidorigami's heart grew stronger. The Corpse Clan was no longer the force that they looked down on. Hence, Hidorigami brought his sister to the largest clan in the south of the land of Sunluo, the Dark Bat clan. He wanted to ask their knowledgeable elder what happened to his sister. Without hesitation, Hidorigami immediately led the corpse-plucking legion and set off. The elder of the Dark Bat clan did not know how Hidorigami escaped the erosion of the curse, but his sister's condition did not allow her to escape the curse's backlash. Chapter 560. Without the Drought Demon, the corpse race seemed to have lost its backbone. They had also completely lost the power to contend against the Netherworld race. It was also at that time that Maymo, who had always been by Hanba's side and was not valued by her people, stood out. After that, the corpse race, which was already stronger than them, chose to surrender to the Netherworld race while they were puzzled. They did not know what had happened to Hitorigami, so they were extremely vigilant towards the sudden surrender. However, with Mayba's efforts, the Nether race people who came into contact with her lowered their vigilance and happily accepted the corpse race's surrender. He also believed what the corpse clansman had said, that Drought Demon's disappearance was because he took the initiative to leave in pursuit of greater power. He did not want to fight anymore. After that, the Sunluo region continued to wage war against the outside world. The members of the corpse race were like the sharp swords in the hands of the Nether race. They crushed their enemies and used the sacrifice of their own clansmen to prove their loyalty. Battle after battle, it seemed like the corpse race was constantly being weakened, but the strength of the corpse race's top level was constantly increasing in the war. During this period, the corpse race relied on the war to refine several inferior blood sources, successfully helping Mayba completely dispel the god curse in her body. Mayba's innate ability finally showed itself. Although she didn't have a strong cultivation and battle talent like her brother Hanba, she still surpassed all the members of the corpse clan. Moreover, she had an ability that her brother didn't have, which was the development and application of the corpse clan's abilities. As the memories faded, Mayba looked at Hitorigami, who had been refined into a corpse spirit, with a trace of pain on her face. For the sake of her awakening, her brother chose to create the corpse race and contend against the Netherworld race. This was also the reason why she had always been protecting the corpse clan, because this clan was what bound them together. If he hadn't suddenly disappeared. His elder brother was supposed to be an abyssal prefect of the Sunluo region. Even the Netherworld race couldn't stop his rise. However, at this moment, what she saw was a corpse spirit that had lost its soul. He was no longer the high-spirited older brother who started from nothing and grew tenaciously in a hopeless situation. She really wanted to know what had happened to her brother and why he had become like this. However, the drought demon zombie spirit did not respond to her at all. His body, which had been crippled by Chi Ba, was slowly recovering under the nourishment of the purple mist. At this moment, Mayba looked at Drought Demon's zombie spirit and suddenly said, "Can we meet? I won't hurt you. I just want to know something." No one responded to Mayba. Just as Mayba was about to speak again, Hanba suddenly spoke. "Sure, but I have a condition." "Say it, I can agree to your conditions that are not too excessive." 100 corpse spirit jades. At the same time, I'll open a path for my companion in the corpse mountain. I'll let him enter the Netherworld race's trial space below the corpse mountain. Alright, I agree. Mayba agreed without hesitation. Chi Ba wanted to say something, but when he saw the determination in Mayba's eyes, he sighed and gave up. Because he knew Mayba very well, he knew that no matter what he said, it would be useless. Mayba had already made her decision. As Mayba waited, Chana's zombie spirit and Chi Ming walked over from afar. Before Mayba could say anything, Chi Ba looked at Chi Ming viciously and said, "Don't worry. You're from the Netherworld race?" "No, I am the Player Clan." "Then why do you have the Netherworld clan's king's seal?" Chi Ba seemed very confused. "I obtained the inheritance of the Netherworld race." Hearing this, Chi Ba frowned slightly and turned to look at Mayba. "Open a path for him, let him in." Mayba looked at Chi Ming and said. Chi Ba was unwilling, but he still chose to obey. He turned around and punched the corpse mountain. Under his control, the corpse mountain wriggled and slowly cracked open. Chi Ming saw this and nodded slightly. He stepped into the crack and looked down. "Here are 100 corpse spirit jades, I'll wait for you." As she spoke, Mayba waved her hand and the 100 corpse spirit jades on the corpse mountain floated into the air. They were compressed into the size of a fingernail by the thick purple fog and fell into the bag in Cha Na's zombie spirit's hand. It was so easy to achieve his goal. This was completely beyond the expectations of who he and the others who were hiding behind the scenes. At this moment they were also dumbfounded. Originally, they only wanted to ask for an exorbitant price. They did not expect this Lolita girl from the Corpse clan to agree so easily. As they did not know about her and Hidorigami's past, who he and the others were extremely shocked. After obtaining the Corpse spirit jades, who he controlled Cha Na's zombie spirit and began to walk back. However, he did not walk in a straight line. Instead, he began to walk in circles. It took him quite a while to reach their hiding place. Fortunately, Mei-Ba did not follow him. She was still guarding Hidorigami's zombie spirit. After obtaining the Corpse spirit jades and throwing them into the space, who he and the other two could not help but laugh. They felt that they had made a killing this time. Initially, they could not come up with a countermeasure even after racking their brains. They did not expect to achieve their goal in this way. Since she had done it, who he did not want to go back on his word. He immediately stood up and walked towards the Corpse Mountain. Seeing this, Niefeng hurriedly stopped Hu He. "Great Demon King, are you really going to meet her?" "Yes, we have achieved our goal anyway. The worst that can happen is 3 hours. I'm very curious about the reason for her generosity." After saying this, Hu He walked towards the Corpse Mountain without looking back. Niefeng curled his lips and did not say anything else. He turned to look at Tang Mu and the flow of time, who was staring at him fiercely. While Mei-Ba was waiting, Hu He's figure slowly appeared from afar. At first glance, Mei-Ba was sure that Hu He was the mastermind behind Hidorigami. Not only the Corpse spirit bag on his waist, but also the aura that Hu He left on Hidorigami proved that Hu He was the mastermind zombie forge master. As Hu He approached, he first looked at Mei-Ba, then turned to look at Chi-Ba, who was staring at him as if she wanted to swallow him whole. "Can you tell me, where did you get my brother's corpse?" Mei-Ba looked at Hu He and asked. When Hu He heard this, he looked very surprised. "Hidorigami is your brother?" Mei-Ba nodded slightly. "Yes, biological brother." At this moment, Accountant Hu understood why Mei-Ba was willing to agree to his request. Obviously, she had something to ask of him. However, there was one thing that Hu He did not understand, so he immediately asked, "Don't you hate me?" Mei-Ba heard him and nodded. "I do, but I know that the one who killed my brother is definitely not you, because you don't have that ability." Although Hu He was a little depressed at being looked down upon, he had to admit that he really did not have the ability to kill Hidorigami. "So tell me, where did you get the corpse?" Mei-Ba asked again. Hu He heard her and sighed. "Little girl, that guy is not someone you can deal with. You are only at the peak of the Ghost Emperor, but he is a god. There is no hope for you. You will be seeking your own death if you go looking for him." Mei-Ba and Chi-Ba were extremely shocked when they heard that the one who killed their brother was a god. However, after a short moment of shock, Mei-Ba's eyes were filled with purple mist and her killing intent was revealed. "Tell me who it is." Hu He had also heard the story of the demonic god from Guyu. He knew that the demonic god hated Hidorigami for revenge. When the demonic god burned Hidorigami's soul, he was beside him. Although he could understand Mei-Ba's desire to avenge her brother, he could not betray the demonic god. However, Hu He could not betray the demonic god. After all, the demonic god was Guyu's master. At least, that was what Hu He thought. Most importantly, he did not know where the demonic god was at the moment. Moreover, Hu He did not think that the demonic god's revenge was wrong. After all, Hidorigami had killed his whole family. Therefore, Hu He decisively shook his head and rejected. Chapter 561. In the face of Hu He's rejection, Mei-Ba appeared very indifferent. "Tell me your request and I can give you what you want, as long as you tell me who killed my brother." Hearing this, Hu He shook his head again. "Actually, I don't know where he is now, but I've also said that even if you find him, You're no match for him. That's none of your business. I just want to know who he is. The purple mist swirled in Mayba's eyes, piercing who he's skin. I told you, I won't tell you. Who he was, finally getting impatient. Now that you're standing here, do you think everything is still under your control? Seeing this, Chiba glared at him and threatened him. If it wasn't for Mayba, he would definitely teach this arrogant zombie forge master a lesson. However, Chiba's threat was nothing in Hu He's eyes. As a player, being poor was the most frightening thing. As for death, everyone who played battle had died once or twice, dozens or even hundreds of times. Therefore, Hu He couldn't help but laugh. You've met me. Now I'm leaving. Oh right, I want to take Hidorigami with me. Saying this, Hu He waved his hand in a direction not far away. Hidorigami's zombie spirit suddenly stood up from the ground and walked to Hu He's side. Hu He's actions completely angered Chiba. He immediately stepped forward to attack, but was stopped by Mayba. I don't know where you got your courage from, but aren't you being too conceited if you want to take my brother away? Hu He continued walking toward Nia Feng and the others without looking back. You can try. Even if you kill me, you won't get Hidorigami. I said it. The angry Chiba raised his hand and was about to swing at Hu He, but was stopped by Mayba again. Mayba, are you just going to watch him take Hidorigami away? Chiba questioned Mayba angrily. Mayba didn't say a word. She waved her hand and the purple mist left in Hidorigami's zombie spirit seeped out of her body. It quickly rushed toward Mayba and entered her body. At this moment, a smile appeared on Mayba's face. If he didn't have absolute confidence, he wouldn't be so fearless. Besides, my brother's soul didn't enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. What? Didn't enter the 6 paths of reincarnation? Chiba was stunned. Do you still remember what I said? My brother is not dead. He will come back. He is just in a deep sleep somewhere, Mayba said with a smile. Chiba was very surprised when he heard this. He couldn't help but ask in a low voice, Isn't this your way of comforting yourself? No, it's just that I can sense that Big Brother is still alive. But this time, he has been refined into a corpse spirit. Could this corpse spirit be fake? Chiba asked in confusion. That's right. This is just an empty shell without a soul. His soul was taken away by the person who killed him, but he was not killed, so I know Big Brother did not enter the 6 paths of reincarnation. How did you know? Chiba was completely dumbfounded. He told me. Mayba pointed at Drought Demon's zombie spirit behind Hu He with a smirk. So, you're going to look for him? Chiba was startled and asked anxiously. From Chiba's point of view, Mayba was the future leader and hope of the zombie clan. If she left, it would be an irreparable loss for the zombie clan. No need, he will be back soon, Mayba said with a hopeful look on her face. Looking at the confused Chiba, Mayba spoke again. Chiba, I hope you can help me. What do you need me to do? Chiba frowned. Give up on your demigod breakthrough and give me your corpse mountain. What? Chiba was very surprised when he heard this. The corpse mountain was the source of energy for him to break through to the demigod realm. Without the help of the corpse mountain, he had no hope of breaking through to the demigod realm. Therefore, Mayba's request really surprised him. Are you willing? Chiba's eyes flickered with uncertainty when he heard Mayba's request. He didn't know what Mayba wanted to do, nor did he know if it would affect the zombie clan, so he was very hesitant. You created the corpse mountain. I can give it to you, but you have to tell me, what do you want to do? Mayba nodded. I want to use the corpse mountain in our hands to create a new peak half-god realm body for my brother. As long as you agree, I will go to Laiba and ask for his corpse mountain as well. At that time, all we need to do is merge the 3 corpse mountains together. Looking at the dumbfounded Chiba, Mayba smiled. Don't worry, I am confident that I can do it. Chiba didn't doubt what Mayba said. Mayba had developed many abilities for the zombie clan. She could even create corpse mountains, so he believed that she could create a demigod body. However, Chiba was still confused. What about the soul? Even if you create a demigod body, without your brother's soul, what's the use? I already know where my brother's soul is. I will also need the corpse mountain's help. Looking at the confident Meiba, Chiba pondered for a while before nodding silently. Although he felt that this idea was absurd, looking at the confident Meiba, Chiba still chose to agree. This was because he had always believed in any decision Meiba made. Otherwise, the zombie clan wouldn't have its current achievements. A day later, the 3 corpse mountains in the Sunluo region moved toward the center. After they converged, the 3 corpse mountains began to merge 3 days later. On a deserted island in the void ocean, a young man with red skin held a fishing rod in his hand. He was fishing leisurely as he looked at the sea. There were a few spiritual fishes in the wooden bucket beside his feet. The lowest grade among them was at the sea spirit level. After killing Hidorigami, the negative emotions in the demonic god's body had completely calmed down. He had completely lost the desire to kill. Although he was free from the seal, the demonic god didn't know what to do next. Hence, he lived a leisurely life of fishing. It's coming. At this moment, the fishing rod trembled slightly. A smile appeared on the demonic god's face. He suddenly lifted the fishing rod, and suddenly, a whale-like water monster broke out of the water. It opened its mouth full of sharp teeth and bit at the demonic god. Seeing this, the demonic god raised his hand and punched. After receiving the demonic god's heavy punch, the water monster instantly burst into a bloody mist and fell into the water. Spiritual fishes. I want spiritual fishes, not water monsters. The demonic god muttered in displeasure. Just as the demonic god was about to cast the fishing rod into the water again, his expression suddenly froze. He immediately calmed down and entered his body with his consciousness. Through his investigation, the demonic god quickly found the source of the fluctuation. It was Hidorigami's soul. After Hidorigami's death, the demonic god took away his soul fragment but didn't erase it. This was because Hidorigami's memories of being tortured by negative emotions was one of the demonic god's daily pastimes. However, at this moment, Hidorigami's soul fragment was trembling violently as if it was summoned by something. It became extremely unstable. This made the demonic god very confused. He didn't know why Hidorigami's soul fragment was behaving so strangely. Just as the demonic god was about to investigate, a cloud of purple mist appeared in his mind. The moment this cloud of purple mist appeared, it was washed away by the demonic god's vigorous chi and blood. It quickly melted like snow. However, the demonic god was stunned when the purple mist quickly enveloped Hidorigami's soul fragment. In the blink of an eye, it disappeared along with the purple mist. F***ck. The demonic god's fishing rod slipped from his hand. At this moment, he was dumbfounded. Gone? The demonic god didn't know what exactly happened, but from the purple mist, he could feel the weak aura of the space and time laws. Damn it, give it back to me! The demonic god's emotions exploded, and his body suddenly expanded. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a towering giant. With a stomp of his foot, the nameless island collapsed in the center of the land of Sunluo. An incomparably huge corpse mountain was wriggling violently. The corpse spirit jade on the corpse mountain was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye, turning into energy to supply the corpse mountain. At the peak of the corpse mountain, Meiba looked dispirited and vomited blood continuously. Chi-Ba and Lai-Ba, who were standing at the side, were extremely anxious when they saw this. Although they had the help of the corpse mountain, which was constantly providing energy, to snatch something from the underworld god, it was still an extremely risky thing to do. As they waited, Meiba's face suddenly revealed a joyful expression. She slowly opened her hand, and countless almost transparent fragments could be seen dancing in her palm. I did it. These are my brother's soul fragments. Feeling the familiar aura from the soul fragments, a smile appeared on Mei Ba's pale face. It's just a soul fragment, how are you going to repair it? Qi Ba, who was standing at the side, could not bear to see this, but he still asked. I can't repair his soul, that's the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. But even if he only has incomplete memories, he is still my brother. This is him. Mei Ba replied weakly. What do you want to do next? We'll help you, so you rest well. Lai Ba asked. I don't need to rest, you can't help me. Mei Ba shook her head, then stood up. She placed the fragments in her hand into a blood-red core, and then injected it into the corpse mountain. Mei Ba closed her eyes and began to control the huge corpse mountain after the fusion. Countless amounts of energy were injected into the blood-red core through the corpse mountain. As the corpse mountain wriggled, its size began to shrink. Refining the corpse mountain was a long process, and time passed by slowly. 1 day, 1 week, 1 month. During this period, Qi Ba and Mei Ba had been guarding Mei Ba, waiting for her to succeed. The corpse mountain also became smaller and smaller during the refinement, and the corpse spirit jades that covered the corpse mountain were all used up. At this time, although the corpse mountain was still very huge, it could still be seen that it had a humanoid shape. Arms, legs, head, everything was slowly taking shape according to Mei Ba's plan. Qi Ba and Lai Ba were also very excited after witnessing all this. They believed in Mei Ba, so they were also looking forward to the moment when the ancestor who created the corpse clan returned. Chapter 562. The changes in the land of Sun Luo naturally did not escape Lu Wu, who was using the artifact to investigate the entire land of Sun Luo. Lu Wu was stunned when he saw Mei Ba begin to recast Hitorigami. He quickly exited the artifact space and found Lil Bailey, who was watching TV in the living room and eating like a perpetual motion machine. Foodie, come into the artifact and take a look. I've marked the location. When little Bailey heard this, she looked up with a puzzled expression. What's wrong? Do you remember Hitorigami? Someone is resurrecting him. Yes, but how can he be resurrected? Lil Bailey continued to stuff food into her mouth calmly, looking fearless. However, seeing Lu Wu's serious face, she finally listened to him and entered the artifact space. She found the location that Lu Wu had marked and began to examine it. At this moment, the corpse hill had shrunk to 1/3 of its original size. Its humanoid form had completely taken shape from its initial blurry form. Lu Wu also entered the artifact space at this moment. He looked at Lil Bailey and said, Foodie, did you see that? Hitorigami is about to be resurrected. Lil Bailey calmly shook her head upon hearing this. How can it be resurrection? First of all, Hitorigami's soul has been shattered. There is no way to restore it other than using the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation. All she did was collect the memories from Hitorigami's soul fragments, knead his soul and place it into this new body. In other words, although Hitorigami is still Hitorigami, his memory is incomplete, not even 1/10 of the original. Lil Bailey looked at the corpse hill and nodded. But I have to say that she is very talented. She actually came up with this kind of recasting method. She is a genius no weaker than Sangshu. Lu Wu immediately understood what was going on when he heard that. He originally thought that Hitorigami was really going to be resurrected on the spot. This was terrifying to him because it was an ability that even the ancient gods could not achieve. As far as he knew, only Lil Bailey had the ability to perfectly restore a fragmented soul. Are you comparing her to me? Lil Bailey suddenly asked curiously. Lu Wu nodded. There's no need to compare. She is far from it. In terms of energy utilization, our soul power is 100% converted. As for the energy source of her corpse hill, it's already good enough to have 1/3 of it left after conversion. Just based on these 2 points, I can already beat her up, not to mention other aspects. Lil Bailey said proudly with her hands on her hips. Look at how arrogant you are. Can't you be a little more humble? I know you are very smart. Lu Wu said sourly. Ever since he started learning the usage and creation of artifacts from Bailey, Lu Wu felt like a muggle. The more he learned, the more tired he felt. He felt like his brain was not enough. Bailey's knowledge base could be described as limitless, which made Lu Wu realize that there was no end to learning. However, Lu Wu heaved a sigh of relief after confirming that Mei Ba did not possess a heaven-defying creation ability like Lil Bailey. As for the future of the zombie clan and the player clan, Lu Wu would not interfere. If a war were to break out, Lu Wu had a feeling that the corpse clan, who nurtured themselves through war, would be in a miserable state. After all, the specialty of the players was that their corpses would disappear after death and be retrieved by the artifact. Therefore, if a war were to break out, the players would only rely on the zombies to rise and not be weakened. At the same time, the zombies would not be able to lay a finger on the players. If they really fought, Lu Wu felt that the zombies would have a mental breakdown. Just as Lu Wu was thinking about this, a message from the Naraka server suddenly appeared in the artifact. After Lu Wu clicked on it curiously, he found that it was a feedback message from the Super Artificial Intelligence, IC. It described the current situation of the Naraka server and also pointed out one point. There were players in the Naraka server who had begun to modify their bodies. The curious Lu Wu immediately used the artifact to look in the direction of the Naraka server. At this time, in the temporary base of the Blacklight organization, south of the Blue Valley ruins in the Naraka server, Eric and Tesla were arguing fiercely. They did not give in to each other's point of view. From time to time, they would point at the blueprints on the table and yell at each other, looking like they were going to fight. As members of the hacks group of the Naraka server, Eric and Tesla had made great contributions to the Naraka server. With a large number of blueprints in the shop, they had created many novel technological weapons and were even researching and improving stronger weapons. Many Naraka players had also used the weapon combinations and loading plans designed by Eric and Tesla. With just the two of them, coupled with the data support of the Super Artificial Intelligence IC, the combat power of the entire Naraka server was pulled to a new level. At this time, the Naraka server had reached a point where it could keep pace with the European server. In terms of growth, it was even one step ahead of the European server. As two research maniacs, from the beginning, their goal was to cooperate, but now they had become good friends who understood each other well. However, friends were friends. When it came to researching technological weapons such as mechs, the two of them often argued endlessly, each sticking to their own point of view and refusing to give in to the other. The players in the Blacklight organization were already familiar with such a situation. They did not even look at them, letting them be flushed with anger. This time, the reason for the argument between Eric and Tesla was a new growth plan. At this time, the blueprint on the table had the words, "Mechanical Revolution," written on it. This plan was first discovered by Eric, and he proposed an improvement plan. The cause was the start of the individual competition. In the beginning, Eric relied on a super mech that far surpassed the performance of the players in the same server and climbed to the top of the Naraka server in a crushing manner. After that, he chose to fight across servers. Eric, who was full of confidence, received the first blow. His opponent was the European server's hacks, Reinhardt. Not only was Reinhardt able to go head-to-head with his super mech with his strong physical strength alone, but his powerful skills also made Eric suffer. Eric had a hard time in this battle. Not only was he suppressed in all kinds of ways, his technological weapons that hit Reinhardt's body were mostly nullified by Reinhardt's strong defense. It could be said that in this battle, Eric was completely restrained by Reinhardt. Of course, Eric had his own trump card. In the end, he detonated the energy core inside the mech, causing Reinhardt to be seriously injured. Due to a rule in the individual competition space, other than specific skills, the damage caused by oneself was immune to the user. Therefore, after the energy core exploded, Eric did not suffer any damage. However, this explosion caused Reinhardt to be in a seriously injured state. The result was obvious. Without the mech, it was difficult for Eric to break the defense of the European server's number 1 tank, Reinhardt, let alone kill the seriously injured Reinhardt. He lost this battle, even if he used his strongest trump card. After exiting the arena, Eric thought of a problem. If his own body had strong combat power after the mech exploded, would it mean that he could have won this battle? In the current stage of Naraka, there was only one way to increase one's physical combat power. Basically, it relied on soul power and materials to exchange for it. Compared to other servers, they did not have any advantages in skills or talent. Therefore, if players in Naraka lost their mechs, it was equivalent to death. Even if they had the same level of physical strength, players in other servers could easily kill them. This was because they had no skills, no racial talents, and they did not have the combat skills of other servers. Therefore, Eric thought of a problem at that time. How could one's body continue to fight after the mech was destroyed and still have decent combat power? For this reason, Eric conducted research and referred to the growth plans of other servers. First of all, he gave up on skills. This was because without profession advancement, they could not learn the racial talents of other servers at all. This was like the rune masters. Their skills were all given by the gems on their bodies after profession advancement. This was something that Naraka could not learn at all because they could not change their profession. It was the same for other professions like the wood spiritual descendant. It was not something that Naraka could learn even if they wanted to. It was a completely different growth system. During his research, Eric realized that it seemed like Naraka was completely unable to accommodate all the physical growth methods of the other 4 servers. In other words, there was no other way but to find another way. However, Eric did not give up. This was because he believed that there were endless possibilities in this game. This was something that he had already proven in many places. If there was no path, then he would create one. Therefore, he looked for his good friend, Tesla, and started to discuss this with him. Eric even specially posted on the forum, hoping that the research team of the United States military could join in and research together. However, the United States military rejected him decisively. To them, Naraka's mechs and technological weapons were the mainstream. Researching the growth of the physical body was simply putting the cart before the horse. Actually, Eric could completely understand why the United States military would think this way. This was what he had thought in the beginning, until he was beaten up by Reinhardt from the European server. However, Eric, who did not want to admit defeat, decided to persist to the end. He researched a different path of physical growth to keep pace with the mechs and other aspects. If this research direction was successful, it would mean that the players in Naraka would have 2 lives. Moreover, the second life would not be giving up and waiting for death. Instead, they would still have extremely strong combat power. His idea was supported by Tesla. For this reason, the 2 research maniacs started to look through the information on various major forums. At the same time, they thought about new ways of growth. During this period, they discovered a very big problem. That was combat techniques. What they could be sure of was that the players in Naraka were indeed very strong when they operated the mechs. However, without the mechs and only relying on their physical bodies, they were weak in terms of combat. They could not be compared to other servers at all. However, if they were to learn combat techniques of the physical body, it would really be putting the cart before the horse. Therefore, the growth of the physical body must be suitable for Naraka. They could not imitate other servers and spend a lot of time learning combat technique. From this point, they thought about technology, using technology to equip the physical body. However, it was difficult to equip a human body with technological weapons. It was even more difficult to fully equip the body. Therefore, Eric found the NPC of Naraka, Super Artificial Intelligence, Ike. He started to look through the information left behind by the people of Blue Valley, looking for a solution. In the integrated information, Eric found a half-finished design plan, mechanical revolution. In this information, it proposed a concept, the mechanization of the human body. In other words, the human body would be completely transformed into a machine. All the parts of the body would be replaced by machines. This plan could be said to be very crazy. However, Eric, who saw this plan, was very excited. He retrieved it from Ike's database. As this plan was only half finished, Eric requested Ike to join his team and help him perfect this mechanical revolution plan. Unlimited possibilities in battle. Another path of Naraka was grasped by Eric just like that, abandoning the physical body in exchange for a body of steel. To be able to equip a weapon perfectly and be able to use it flexibly, in Eric's opinion, this was the growth method that the players in Naraka really needed. As for the physical body, it was just a burden. Chapter 563. After getting the semi-finished Mechanical Revolution design blueprint, Eric put all his energy into it and started researching and perfecting the specific plan of mechanizing the body. But it was precisely this point that caused him to argue with Tesla. In fact, at the same time that Eric had found a plan to mechanize the body, Tesla had also found a plan to help the players in Naraka strengthen their bodies. That was genetic modification, cyborg form. Thus, the two of them had an argument. Neither of them would give way to the other, and they each expressed their own opinions. The quarrel was also caused by this. Looking at the two flushed faces, Aiku, who was standing at the side, listened quietly. At the same time, he reported the current situation of Naraka to Lu Wu, who was behind the scenes. At this moment, Eric suddenly turned his head and looked at Eric. Ike, who do you think is better between the two of us? Knowing that he would not be able to convince the stubborn donkey, Tesla, no matter what, Eric passed the judgment to the super artificial intelligence Ike. Hearing that, Tesla also looked at Ike. Right now, his thoughts were exactly the same as Eric. He felt that Eric, this stubborn donkey, could not be persuaded at all. However, the two of them trusted Yak, who had the super database, and they were looking forward to him giving them a satisfactory answer. When Ike heard that, he nodded helplessly and voiced his opinion. Actually, both of your plans are very feasible, but according to my analysis and calculations, the two of you are more suitable for the mechanical transformation of your bodies at this stage. This wasn't to say that the bio-human mode wasn't feasible. It was just that the bio-human mode only strengthened the physical body. It couldn't improve the player's advantage in combat technique. However, mechanization is different. You are already familiar with the technological weapons installed, so it will be easier for you to operate them. Therefore, in terms of increasing combat power, mechanization is the most effective and closest to you. Aha, Tesla, did you hear that? Just say that my plan is the most suitable for us. Eric seemed very happy when he heard that. He looked at Tesla proudly and said. Tesla, on the other hand, had a constipated look on his face, but he still chose to acquiesce to Acker's inference. Although the two of them were very intelligent in terms of data analysis, there was still a huge gap between them and Yak. They were very clear about this. Alright, then let's study the mechanization of the body first. Tesla sighed. Ike nodded. He pointed at the blueprint on the table and said, This blueprint isn't perfect, so we need to try it from the beginning. We'll replace the body parts bit by bit until only the head is left. If it's possible, maybe we can even give up on the brain and input it into the mechanical body after digitizing it. This way, even if the mecha explodes in battle, we'll have a second life, and our strength won't necessarily be weaker than the mecha. Tesla nodded. Then where do you plan to start? Also, where are the test subjects? When Eric heard this, he grinned. Since I'm the one who came up with the concept, then the test subject is me. If it was in reality, Tesla would definitely reject Eric's crazy idea. However, he did not have to worry too much in the game. He immediately nodded in agreement. Next, the two of them began to study the semi-finished blueprint of the mechanical revolution. From time to time, they would ask Eric about certain aspects of knowledge and record their own opinions. The artificial intelligence Ike played a great supporting role in this regard. After all, Eric and Tesla's brain capacity was limited. Human body modification involved a lot of knowledge. It was impossible for them to dabble in all kinds of knowledge. At this time, Ike could flip through the stored information in the database and provide basic knowledge. Then, the two mad scientists would discuss and research in depth. The process of research and development was long, but for Eric and Tesla, who had a fanatical passion in this area, it would not be boring at all. Most importantly, the body in reality was supported by the nutrient solution, so they could have 24 hours of research during the campaign. Their efficiency was greatly improved. Of course, the improvement was only in efficiency. During the process of research and development, there would always be accident. The reason why the base built at this time was a temporary base was that the location of the base could be changed at any time. They had built bases in the east, south, west, and north of the Blue Valley ruins, but without exception, they would be destroyed by the raging beast tide in less than a week. In the land of Hell, the players had long been accustomed to the beast tide. This time was no exception. On the fourth day of the research on the mechanical transformation of the human body, a fierce beast tide came. Those unintelligent hell beasts began to wreak havoc. The entire Blacklight base was like duckweed in a storm, destroyed in the blink of an eye. However, the players of the Blacklight organization had already come up with a way to deal with the hell beast tide. To be specific, it was not a response, but an evacuation. Since they could not fight it head-on, they would investigate the movements of the hell beast tide in advance and retreat one step ahead. Because of this, the players of Hell did not have a home, so they all called themselves Wanderers of Hell. Compared to the hegemony mode of other regions, the main theme of the Naraka server was survival before one's strength rose. Although it was very cruel, it was also full of fun. Hiding in the ruins, smoking, looking at the gloomy sky and the raging beast tide outside, the nervousness and excitement in their hearts were a different kind of feeling that could not be experienced in other major territories. A man's passion belonged to the mech, and the cruel environment of survival was the driving force that stimulated his passion. From the initial complaints to the current integration, the players of Hell had grown step by step and had completely adapted to this kind of life. During this period, in order to better survive, their passion for developing new weapons and new technology had never faded. It could be said that Lu Wu had chosen the right path again. This was because the players of Hell did not let him down. They had developed a growth mode that was completely different from other servers, and they had the same unlimited potential. Because they did not know that the world in the game actually existed, the players were very daring to try. This was like Ari and Tesla. An idea led to the birth of a faction. Especially Tesla. His Mech Battle Fortress growth plan was still a popular growth plan in Hell until now. Now, Ari had also come up with a new idea of his own. Mechanization of the body. A brand new school of thought emerged from nothing as the two of them researched, slowly taking shape. The process of research was very long. 1 week, 2 weeks, 1 month. Time flew by. During this period, the two of them gave up on leveling up, gave up on researching the shop's blueprint, and devoted themselves to the design of the mechanization of the body plan. Every time the two of them designed a plan, they would let the super AI Ike conduct data simulation tests and analysis. This undoubtedly saved Ari and Tesla a lot of practical steps, and it also sped up the pace of their research. Without Ike's help, Ari and Tesla felt that they might not be able to complete the mechanization of the body even after spending a few years. Soon, 2 months had passed. Relying on the semi-finished design blueprint as a foundation, the perfect design blueprint of the body's mechanization was finally released. For this blueprint, Ari and Tesla did not go offline for a full 2 months. During this period of time, they worked crazily and finally perfected the design. At the same time, this mechanization of the body blueprint had gone through more than 100 intelligent simulations by Ike. It could be said that on the technical level, it had already reached the standard of implementation of the transformation. The only thing that was lacking was the practical part. However, practical was also the easiest step to go wrong. After all, simulations were only theories. Whether it would succeed or not depended on the practical aspect. However, since the blueprint was already perfected, it meant that this step could be carried out. The first step was to collect the materials. As the boss behind the scenes of the Jetta technology, Ari was not short of money. He mobilized a large amount of liquid funds and invested it into the battle. He bought a large number of soul coins at the Soul Coin Exchange at a high price. Then, he used the soul coins to buy many precious spiritual materials from the shop. He even bought some special spiritual materials from the auction house of other servers to consume during the transformation. For example, the solid iron ore that could increase the hardness of the metal, or the molten fire ore that could increase the toughness of the metal, and so on. After getting these materials, Ari put all of them into the refining interface of the function panel and processed them into parts. There were a total of 3,795 parts. From small screws to large body parts such as arms and legs, it could be said that everything that one could think of was there. After all the preparations were complete, the human transformation plan was officially launched. For this, Ari and Tesla built a temporary laboratory. They bought a control panel from the shop and a few mechanical arms to be used for the transformation. At this time, Ari was tied to the experiment table. Tesla was the one who was controlling the experiment table and the mechanical arms. Ari, block your pain perception first. I'm going to start. Tesla could not help but remind him before he started. Ari heard this and nodded. Without hesitation, he lowered the pain perception to 3%. After all, this was a transformation of the body. The pain that he had to experience was definitely unbearable. Although he was very passionate about scientific research, since he could lower the pain perception, why should he suffer? However, he did not completely lower the pain perception to 0%. This was because he needed to feed back the feelings of the experiment to Tesla. This was very important experimental data. It could be said that at this moment, Ari was carrying out the experiment with the attitude of dedicating himself to science. After making sure that Ari was ready, the metal straps that bound Ari tightened and fixed him on the experiment table to prevent him from struggling and causing errors in the experiment. Everything was ready. The tips of 5 of the mechanical arms revealed the tips of needles. They slowly pierced into Ari's skin and began to inject a type of liquid metal. The first step was the transformation of the bones into metal. This was because in order for Ari's body to completely get rid of the mortal body, all the organs in his body had to be replaced from the inside out. The skeleton was the foundation to support the body. After discussing with Tesla, Ari decided to transform it instead of completely replacing it. Although it was only 3% pain, Ari still widened his eyes and his muscles began to twitch involuntarily. It's so King painful. Therefore, he lowered the pain perception to 0.5% without hesitation. Although it was still very painful, it had reached Ari's tolerance point this time. It was not as unbearable as before. However, during the injection of the liquid metal, his HP plummeted. He quickly opened the voice channel and told Tesla to slow down the injection of the liquid metal. Otherwise, it would take 3 hours. Upon hearing this, Tesla immediately slowed down the injection of the liquid metal. At the same time, he manipulated the other 3 potions that were infused with the blood recovery liquid to pierce into Ari's body to help him recover his HP. 2 types of liquid were injected at the same time. At this moment, Ari rolled his eyes in pain. However, in order to build a mechanical body, He gritted his teeth and endured it. However, during the transformation, Tesla could not help but frown. This was because the scanner detected that as the blood recovery liquid was injected into Ari's body, the liquid metal in his body was gradually disappearing. It was as if it was being devoured by an unknown substance. Regarding this, Tesla decisively reported it to Ari through the voice channel. Ari was stunned when he heard this. He could not understand why. At this moment, a game notification appeared. A game notification. Are you sure you want to create a new unnamed character class? If you choose yes, the right to transform your body will be unlocked. Please choose this option carefully. Once you choose, you will not be able to restore your original body. You will bear the consequences yourself. The appearance of the game notification stunned Ari. In fact, what he did not know was that Lu Wu was also paying attention to him at this moment. If Lu Wu did not unlock the ability to transform his body, it would be unrealistic for Ari to complete the transformation himself. This was because the rights to the players' bodies belonged to the artifact. If it was damaged, it would be recycled and repaired. If Lu Wu did not agree, the experiment would not be able to proceed. After a brief moment of shock, Ari suddenly understood the reason and decisively chose yes. Chapter 564. After the game notification appeared, Eric finally understood why the liquid metal would disappear after the healing potion was injected into his body. Obviously, the existence of the liquid metal was regarded as an injury by the battle god. The healing effect brought about by the healing potion erased this type of injury. After figuring this out, Eric chose to confirm without hesitation when faced with the option to create a new profession and provide the right to modify his body. Instantly, the server announcement in Naraka rang. Server announcement. Congratulations to player Eric for creating a new profession, intelligent machine. Obtained a hidden reward, 500 soul coins. At this moment, all the online players in Naraka were shocked. This was the first time that a profession had been created in Naraka. Although Naraka had always had new weapons and new forms of mecha, these creations had never been recognized by the battle god. It could only be considered an innovation, but not a profession creation. However, this time, Eric did it. Just as the Naraka players were in an uproar and discussing endlessly, Eric was experiencing the pain before the transformation. After confirming the creation of a profession and naming it, the liquid metal injected into his body would still cause damage to his body, but it would no longer be healed by the healing liquid. At the same time, when the liquid metal was injected, the remaining mechanical arms would smash Eric's body from time to time, breaking the bones in his body. Then, it would mix with the liquid metal. This was because Eric's design plan was to metallize the joints together, not just part of the bones. This was also the reason why he bought the tough metal. This process was undoubtedly painful. However, in order to complete this transformation, Eric gritted his teeth and endured it. From time to time, he would feed back the feelings of his body to Tesla through the voice channel so that he could record it and keep it as modification data. When the liquid metal filled Eric's bones, the second step of the transformation began. Bone reconstruction. Tesla, who was operating the control panel, looked nervous at this moment. He observed the condition of Eric's body through the X-ray panel, then controlled the mechanical arms to start the second reconstruction of Eric's bones. This step had to be completed quickly because if the liquid metal cooled and solidified, it would be very difficult to continue. Fortunately, Tesla was already very familiar with the control panel. Under his control, the metal arms slid back and forth, inserting the small parts into Eric's bones. The moment before the metal cooled, it was precisely fused with the bones. At the side, Eric was also providing data assistance from time to time. For example, the timing of the solidification of the liquid metal under Tesla's operation, Eric's skeleton gradually took shape. Its surface had a silvery white metallic luster, and its joints were connected by small metal gears and other parts. It could be said that Eric's bones had already completed the metallization process. However, the experiment was not over. For Eric and Tesla, this was just the beginning. The entire experiment process was dull and tedious. Fortunately, Tesla was full of passion in this aspect. Even though his eyes were bloodshot, he still focused all his attention on Eric. Time passed, and the modifications were still ongoing. Tesla was very careful with every component replacement. For example, when replacing an organ, Eric's HP would drop by a large amount. This was also the most dangerous time. If he did not handle it well, Tesla might be killed instantly. Tesla was under mental pressure, but Eric was under double pressure. Apart from the pain, the mental pressure was equally great. If anything went wrong, his account would be crippled, and he wouldn't be able to delete his account and start over. This was the price of innovation. Stripping the organs, replacing them with mechanical parts, and then injecting the power core source. The entire process was full of danger, but Eric gritted his teeth and endured it. At that moment, Eric's body was in a semi-dissected state. Nearly half of the organs in his body had become mechanical. At that moment, he looked very ferocious. However, Eric did not have any psychological burden. Instead, he was very excited. This was because he felt that his body was filled with great power. This power was provided by the operation of the energy core in his body. He looked forward to the moment when the modifications were completely completed. He wanted to know how great the changes would be. The sky gradually darkened. Unknowingly, it was already nighttime. There were a total of more than 3,000 components. It was not something that could be completed in a short period of time. The modifications had to continue. Looking at Eric, who was still persevering and occasionally providing his feelings, Tesla sincerely admired him. Although the modification of the body could block out the feeling of pain, the psychological pressure was also extremely great. An ordinary person would have long been unable to endure it. However, not only did Eric endure it, but he also activated the feeling of pain just to obtain important data and information. This spirit of dedication to scientific research made Tesla feel deep respect. Since Eric could endure it, Tesla felt that his own was nothing at all. He continued to persevere. Thus, that night, Tesla put all his energy into the modification of Eric. From time to time, he would communicate with Eric through the voice channel. Ike, who was beside him, would also point out the mistakes in the operation when necessary and save the mistakes in time. If one wanted to open up a new path, the pioneer who walked at the front would always have the hardest time. Meanwhile, the latecomers would have the experience of the predecessors. The path would be extremely smooth, and Eric would be the pioneer. The night passed quickly while the modifications were being carried out. When the morning light appeared, the modifications still did not stop. However, at that moment, Eric looked like a silver-white robot. At that moment, Tesla was still controlling the mechanical arm to add the rest of the small precision parts and nerve components into Eric's body. This was to ensure that Eric's body could operate normally when the modifications were completed. Although there was the assistance of the super artificial intelligence Ike, the complexity of the modification process still exceeded Eric's and Tesla's expectations. During the final loading of the precision parts, mistakes kept appearing. Even Tesla did not notice these mistakes. Fortunately, Ike, who was beside him, was constantly simulating the operation of the mechanical parts in Eric's body. Once there was a mistake, he could remind Tesla to correct it in advance. However, this still gave Tesla a huge headache. This was like a programmer fixing a bug. If one part made a mistake, the changes would also affect other parts. This was because the mechanical body was a whole body. The operation was a complete big cycle plus dozens of small cycles. However, Eric and Tesla did not give up. Since there was a mistake, they would change it. If it did not work, they would dismantle a step and make a big change. The continuous pain that Eric endured during this period made Tesla feel pain just by looking at it. Fortunately, it was already coming to an end. On this day, all the players of the Blacklight organization became guardians. They were all stationed outside the laboratory to protect the transformation of the guild leader, Eric. When night fell again, Eric's body transformation finally took shape. Other than the brain that had not been completely replaced, Eric had become a robot at this time. Seeing this scene, Tesla smiled with relief. Eric, get up and take a few steps. Feel the condition of your body, I'll record it down. As he spoke, Tesla pressed a button on the console. The metal belt that bound Eric suddenly broke and retracted into the console. Seeing this, Eric sat up and looked at his hands. The silver-white hands had a cold metallic texture. At this moment, Eric suddenly felt a little excited. At this time, he still felt the sense of touch and pain. This was because the neuron parts had been connected to the entire body. This was also the last step of the transformation, a step that Tesla felt extremely painful. Eric wanted to transform a robot, not a pure machine. Therefore, these nerve parts were extremely important. At this moment, he opened the data panel. Intelligent Mechanic, Eric, Profession Introduction. A 97% mechanized silicon-based human body. Abandoning the cumbersome body, the use of power will be digitized and controllable. P.S. For example, a punch. When a normal person punches, they can only roughly judge how much strength they use. However, an intelligent mechanical life can determine the specific percentage of strength they use when they punch. Moreover, it's controllable. Profession skills. Intelligent mechanical evolution, technology installation, data battle, intelligent mechanical evolution, passive. Skill introduction. The intelligent mechanical life will not be able to replenish the body's consumption through ordinary food. Instead, it will use materials such as spirit ores and spirit materials to absorb energy from them and evolve itself. Skill note. After the body is mechanized, it will not be able to level up by killing monsters. At the same time, the soul coins obtained from killing monsters will increase by 25%. Skill note 2. Devouring spirit ores will obtain the experience needed to level up. Technology installation, passive. Skill introduction. The intelligent mechanical body will be able to carry technological weapons, internal and external. A custom-made weapon that matches the body will be required. Skill note. When carrying weapons and technological products, please pay attention to the load and energy consumption of the intelligent mechanical body. Data battle, passive. Skill introduction. During a battle, the battle assistance system in the body will be activated automatically. It will analyze the terrain, battle damage, the opponent's situation, and other aspects to provide battle assistance based on data. Seeing his own panel, Eric could not help but clench his fists. He knew that he had succeeded. How is it, Eric? Quick, share your new profession panel. Tesla saw the situation and asked nervously. It's great. The tactile feedback is still there. Moreover, the body has become stronger. It's perfect. Eric replied immediately and shared his profession panel with Tesla. Looking at Eric's profession panel, Tesla smiled in relief. Although the process of scientific research was tough, the joy and satisfaction that came from reaping the fruits of success was irreplaceable. Eric, do you want me to make a skin for you? Looking at Eric, Tesla suddenly asked with a smile. Sure. After all, it's too eye-catching now. What style do you want? Rough? Steady? Domineering? Handsome? Of course, if you like, I can also make a female skin for you. Anyway, it's just a layer of skin. You can have whatever you want, Tesla teased. Prototype, Eric said in annoyance. As he spoke, Eric took out a spirit ore from his space, put it by his mouth, and ate it like a fruit. Instantly, a notification of his experience value increase appeared in his mind. At this moment, Eric suddenly felt that he might become a pay-to-win boss in the future. After all, spirit ores were rare resources. They were very expensive. As his level increased, the experience required for each level up would also increase. If this continued, he would have to spend a lot of money to level up. Thinking of this, Eric felt a headache. He suddenly felt that the money he had now was not enough. Chapter 565. Lu Wu watched the entire process of Eric transforming himself into a mechanical intelligence and felt extremely emotional. This meant that the biggest shortcoming of the Naraka server's growth system, which was the weakness of the players being defenseless after the mech was destroyed, had been successfully made up for. It was not that Lil Bailey did not think of this at the beginning, but to allow the Naraka players to focus on their development path, she deliberately did not add it. Just like the second stage of class advancement in the local server, it would only be opened when the overall strength of the Naraka server reached a certain level. However, he did not expect Eric to discover it in advance and successfully develop a countermeasure. At this moment, Lu Wu thought of that sentence again. The potential of the players was unlimited. Without any burden, a genius like Eric could display his talents to the fullest, proving this point to Lu Wu once again. At this time, Lu Wu already had a premonition that the rise of the Naraka server was coming. Therefore, he decisively opened up some of the permissions for the Naraka server's body modification. He wanted to see how far the Naraka players could go. Just as Lu Wu thought, on the same day, Eric uploaded his modified character panel and the modified video to the Naraka server forum. It was not out of kindness, but Eric clearly understood one thing, which was that the players of a server were a whole. The overall strength of the Naraka server was strong, which was beneficial to all the Naraka players, including himself. Even if the cross-server war had not started yet, the overall strength of the Naraka players had increased, which meant that the area they could occupy was larger. The size of the territory was linked to the amount of resources. Eric was a smart person, so he deeply understood this point. The Naraka server was bound together for good or ill. Once his human modification video was posted on the forum, not only did it cause a strong response from the Naraka players, but it also shocked the players of the other 4 servers. The most direct impact was that many casual players wanted to join the Blacklight Guild that Eric had created. Tesla's Mech Battle Fortress had already shocked the Naraka players at that time, and this time, Eric's performance was the same. This undoubtedly made the players realize the potential of the Blacklight organization and its strong foundation in the field of technology. Subsequently, the United States military also took the initiative to find Eric, hoping to research the subsequent advancement plan of human mechanization with him. However, this time Eric decisively refused. As the first person to try the crab, the large number of players joining had given him a strong capital, so he no longer needed the help of the United States military. Although the U.S. military was also a part of the overall strength of the Naraka server. However, they were on the opposite side after all, so this time, Eric's stance was very firm. This was because the U.S. military would definitely take the initiative to suppress him. After all, this was not the first time the U.S. military had such thoughts. For them, the Blacklight Guild would always be a strong opponent in the distribution of benefits. However, with the recent addition of independent players, the Blacklight organization began to expand rapidly. Eric believed that the day when they could compete with the United States military was not far away. After this, Eric's mechanical army plan was officially put on the agenda. With the experience of the human experiment, the subsequent modifications to the players' bodies only required them to turn off the pain barrier and take a nap. Compared to Eric's pain, they were much happier. Of course, Eric would not provide the guild's players with materials. After all, the mechanization of the human body would cost a lot of money. Eric felt that it was hard to feed himself, let alone the other players. This also forced many players of the Blacklight organization to choose to modify their bodies locally first, which was to perfect a few small cycles first to improve their combat effectiveness. Once he had the money, he would slowly improve it. At this stage, The evolution method of wisdom machinery had great potential. It could rely on devouring spiritual ores to strengthen the body, and it could also carry technological weapons. It could be said that there were many ways to evolve. However, the biggest problem was also obvious, which was the huge cost. Materials like spiritual ores had always been rare and expensive in Naraka. The daily consumption of wisdom machinery was spiritual ores, which ordinary players could not afford at all. It could be said that at this stage, this type of modification was completely exclusive to players with paywalls. Of course, it was not that ordinary players did not have a way to modify wisdom machinery. The method was very simple. They would work hard and carry bricks crazily until they were bald. As Naraka began to develop a new genre, the development of other servers also followed suit. During this period, apart from learning from Lil Bailey, Lu Wu's daily task was to devote the rest of his time to the construction and development planning of the game. Such days made Lu Wu feel very fulfilled. Seeing the players getting stronger and stronger, this feeling of nurturing made him look forward to it and feel gratified. Just like that, half a year passed. During this half a year, Lu Wu witnessed the gradual rise of the players. The first was the Asian server. During this period, the players of the Asian server, who were known as the Caretaker server, finally began to fight with the local forces of the Devil Ridge. This time, the players of the Asian server finally witnessed the strength of the local forces of the Devil Ridge. During the confrontation, the players of the Asian server appeared to be quite weak. It could be said that they were constantly being defeated and suffered a lot. However, the outbreak of the war had also significantly improved the fighting skills of the players of the Asian server. Using war to nurture war, the plan that the players of other servers had long been implementing had finally been carried out in the Asian server. For the first time, the epic and hot-blooded battlefield had also inspired the determination of the players of the Asian server to become stronger. During this period, the Asian server had given birth to several players who were close to the cheat level. There was even a player who obtained the recognition of the remnant consciousness of the ancient god, the skeleton monk, during his exploration in the dry bone forest and obtained part of the inheritance. The rise of the entire Asian server was unstoppable, and it was advancing triumphantly. Next was the European server. The European server, which was known as the second strongest among the 5 servers, had successfully occupied an entire region after Baiki during this period. The battle with Yuanshu had also come to an end in this half a year's time. Using war to nurture war, the players of the European server were getting stronger and stronger while Yuanshu's army was getting weaker and weaker. Their defeat had long been apparent and the outcome was only a matter of time. It was also during this half a year's time that the final battle for the land of Tsangshu broke out. In this battle, he was crowned as a god, with Hitorigami, who was half a step into the Ghost Emperor realm, and dozens of zombie spirits who were half a step into the Ghost King realm, he was unstoppable on the battlefield. Apart from Yuanshu, no one could face him head-on. Including the few Ghost Kings under Yuanshu, none of them had the power to fight he. The name of the great demon king resounded throughout the 5 servers. He was one of the strongest cheaters at this stage, perhaps even the number 1. It was also during this final battle that he, with the help of the evil king, killed Yuanshu with his own hands and fulfilled the promise he made to his brother back then, revenge. The successful killing of Yuanshu also made he the first player in the game to obtain the achievement of killing a Ghost Emperor realm expert. After Yuanshu's death, the players of the European server completely occupied the entire land of Tsangshu and obtained a large number of resource points, which also accelerated the speed of development. During this period, there was another episode in the European server. That was the addition of an NPC. Her name was Xian Ku, an extremely beautiful woman with a sweet smile. She was called a goddess by the players of the European server. Finally, Tsangshu's beautiful days began. As an agent of the European server working for Lu Wu, He had been looking forward to this day for a long time. Finally, his wish came true in this half a year's time. With Lu Wu's help, he successfully resurrected Xian Ku. He thought that they would be separated forever, but he did not expect to be able to work together again. Life was like a dream, but he was willing to indulge in it. Sangshi was filled with gratitude towards Lu Wu and Lil Bailey. He was even more determined to work hard for Lu Wu and manage the European server well. He even wanted to build a powerful army for Lu Wu that surpassed the original server. After that, it was the unyielding server. Based on the original totem as the foundation, the unyielding server grew rapidly in the early stages. In this half a year, the unyielding server players had also successfully annexed the Beast tribe after a tough battle. After the tragic war, their rewards were also huge. They obtained a huge spirit beast farm and several resource production points. The unyielding server had finally gained a foothold in the Xianfeng land. However, their crisis was not over yet. The counterattack from the entire Qianyu tribe was imminent. This war was unavoidable. However, the unyielding server players were full of confidence. Although the war was difficult, they had discovered the huge advantage of being a player. Death was never scary to them. As a player, their only weakness was that they did not have soul coins. To sum it up, they were poor. Apart from bringing death, war could also make them rich quickly. In order to catch up with the other servers, they were willing to work hard and strive to catch up with the other servers. Finally, it was the original server. The original server, which had always existed as the father server, was always at the forefront in the battle for hegemony. This half a year was no exception. In this half a year, the development of the original server could be described as rapid. Apart from the new players, the old players had basically all reached the Ghost Commander level. Most of the pro players had also advanced to the Ghost General level. As for the original server's cheaters, they were still synonymous with the strongest. Their performance in the cross-server competition was extremely eye-catching. Although the official individual competition had yet to be launched, the fact that they were the strongest in terms of overall strength was clear to the players in other servers, even if they were unwilling to admit it. As for the original server's cheaters, they had a nickname that resounded throughout the entire server. 9 Elemental Sword Deity, Ao Jian Ghost Manipulation Deity, 7 Assassin Deity, Murphy Little Pomelo Thunderbolt Fist Deity, Lu Chai Demonic God Apostle, Gu Yu Invincible Diamond, Yuan Fong Wait. The strength of these players in terms of individual strength had attracted the attention of all the players in the server. After witnessing countless fierce confrontations in cross-server individual competitions, the players became more and more enthusiastic about the cheaters. They all wanted to reach the peak and become a member of the cheaters. At the same time, Lu Wu had also updated all the major servers in this half a year. Apart from the original server, which had the most updates, the European server had already entered the extraterritorial hegemony version. Meanwhile, the unyielding server and the Asia server had also started the internal hegemony version. The appearance of each new expansion pack symbolized a milestone in the progress of the game. Because of this, the major server forums had also opened a new section called Milestone to record the stories of the battle in the past 3 years. The battle had been running for 3 years, and countless players had treated it as their home in another world. During this period, the impact of the battle on reality had also become greater. Just now, Lu Wu received a call from Wu Gui, who told him a piece of news. This year's E3 gaming exhibition was about to begin, and he asked if he wanted to come and watch it in person. Chapter 566. Faced with Wu Gui's question, Lu Wu suddenly remembered that Battle was participating in this year's E3 gaming exhibition. As for whether he should go or not, after some hesitation, Lu Wu decided to go and have a look himself. After getting Lu Wu's reply, Wu Gui immediately sent 2 electronic tickets to the exhibition to Lu Wu's phone. He hung up the phone. Lu Wu began to search for information related to this year's E3 gaming exhibition, wanting to learn about it in advance. With a simple search on his phone, news of the E3 gaming exhibition flooded in. While looking at the relevant content, Lu Wu found something that interested him. This year's E3 exhibition would conduct a major evaluation of the existing games and give out various game awards. Moreover, there was no main judge for this evaluation. All players could participate in the evaluation as they were all judges. The categories included Best Graphics, Best Original Game, Best Strategy Game, Best War-Related Game, Best Racing Game, Best Social Game, etc. There were many categories. However, to ensure the fairness of the evaluation, all participating players had to connect to the E3 online website through their gaming platform and provide their gaming time. This was also to prevent the participating game manufacturers from maliciously giving out good or bad reviews. Because of this, major game manufacturers from all over the world participated in this exhibition with their flagship games, all in order to stand out in the evaluation and win the awards. Lu Wu did not think much of these competitors. After all, it was a fact that the current games, whether it was the gameplay or the degree of realism, could not compete with battle. Lu Wu's confidence also came from his absolute strength. He felt that this time, he might get tired of receiving the award. After all, Battle was a very inclusive game that basically covered all the game mode. Nurturing, survival, socializing, etc. Of course, Lu Wu would not show up to receive the awards in person. Everything was still left to Wu Guori. He would only go and watch as a passerby. After all, the awards were ultimately fake. What he wanted was a real increase in the number of players. This was the reason why he participated in E3, not for the awards. Of course, it was inevitable that the awards would help promote the game. Therefore, Lu Wu was looking forward to that day, to the outstanding performance of Battle. But soon, Lu Wu did not feel that way, nor did he feel that way. That afternoon, many posts appeared on the forums of all the major servers. Rumor has it that the officials of Battle behind the scenes are going to E3 personally. What do you think? Should I kill him now, or lock him up in a small black room and torture him? Tong Guo's arrogant face. The masked kidnapping team is officially established. At this stage, the number of members in the team is 1/50th. Please sign up. After this mission, we will have an endless supply of soul coins. Everyone in the team is equipped with godly equipment. Action is better than excitement. The masked kidnapping team welcomes you to join us. Let's declare war on the dog officials. I just saw that the tickets for E3 have been sold out. Are you still human? I've been curious about the stupid officials for a long time. At the very least, let me see with my own eyes how powerful they are. Oh my God, once the news of Battle Dog's official presence came out, E3 ticket prices skyrocketed. We can only buy scalp tickets now, it's too damn expensive. Are the lousy officials going to reveal themselves? Brothers who bought the tickets, remember to bring a knife and place it on his neck so that he can start an event and give out soul coins. Oh yes, and open a top-up channel, laughing emoji. Those who can't buy the tickets, I'm going to block the entrance. It's been 3 years, I've waited so long, and now I'm finally going to be exposed. I want to thank him for making such a good game. I'm addicted to it every day, causing me to be single for 3 years. If this goes on, I'll take Battle Dog as my wife for the rest of my life. Angry hammering emoji. We're all Battle Dog players. I hope you can be more civilized and stop fighting and killing. After all, Battle Dog has given me a whole new world. I'm very grateful to the Battle Dog officials, and I'm very impressed by their adherence to their principles and never compromising with the players. For this reason, I'm going to perform 3 consecutive backstabs in front of the lousy officials and kill them, laughing emoji. The discussions of the players in the forum left Lu Wu dumbfounded. At this moment, he only had one thought in his mind. How did the players know that he was going to E3? For this reason, Lu Wu used the artifact to investigate. In the end, he found out that the news came from Wu Gui, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. During the media interview, the reporter asked Wu Gui if the behind-the-scenes team of BattleDog would be present. It was because Wu Gui said that the behind-the-scenes boss of BattleDog would be there, but he would not show up. It was this news that caused a sensation in the BattleDog gaming circle. Hearing that the lousy officials would be there, the BattleDog players were extremely excited. The most direct impact was that the price of the E3 tickets had increased by several times. After that, a large number of BattleDog players squeezed into the E3 Gaming official online platform. The huge influx of BattleDog players almost caused the E3 Gaming platform to explode. This made the organizers of the E3 Gaming exhibition both happy and helpless. It was a wise decision for E3 to invite BattleDog to participate in this exhibition. However, the huge popularity brought by BattleDog was too much for them to handle. For this reason, they could only continue to maintain and repair the platform. There was only one purpose for the BattleDog players to flood into the E3 Gaming platform, and that was to increase their ratings for BattleDog. However, Lu Wu never expected the players' dirty trick. This was because these lousy players were not there to increase their ratings, but to increase their negative ratings. Moreover, it was a premeditated attempt to increase the number of BattleDog players and reduce the sharing of resources. For this reason, the players of the 5 major server forums joined forces for the first time, with the goal of defeating the lousy officials. The enthusiasm of the BattleDog players was at an all-time high. However, due to the fact that the time spent online was required to be displayed in the game's rating system, the Battle Alliance players inadvertently exposed the truth. At this time, the comments section of E3 BattleDog Online was filled with BattleDog players' comments. All-powerful, gaming time. 13,231 hours, newbies, take note. Don't pay attention to this game and don't play it. It's not fun at all. It's a rubbish game. You'll regret it if you play it. 1-star negative review. Watching you act cool, gaming time. 12,785 hours. This game is really not fun. It's rubbish just by looking at it. How can such a lousy game participate in the E3 Gaming exhibition? Everyone, listen to my advice. Don't play it. I uninstalled it after a minute after downloading it. 1-star negative review. Astro Boy Gaming Time. 9,987 hours, ahem. I was worried at first, but I'm relieved after reading everyone's comments. However, didn't you guys realize what the duration of the game exposed? Although they're all lies, funny. 1-star negative review. Drink more hot water, gaming time. 7,621 hours. I won't say much else. I've only played this game for a year. Look at my gaming time, facepalm. This game is so hard that I don't want to go back to reality. So I must give it a bad review. Newbies, please don't play it. It's fun for a while, but your life will be ruined in the hands of BattleDog. 1-star negative review. Charming Puppy Egg, gaming time. 21,485 hours. Look at my gaming time. This game has only been released for 3 years and I've already played for so long. I advise newbies to be careful when playing. It's poisonous and there's no antidote, bald. JPG. Blowing Wind in History. 1,012 hours online. Seeing the generosity of the seniors, this newbie admits defeat. However, my 1,012 hours online only took a month and a half, bald +1. LCD Midnight. 22,482 hours of online time. Comrades above, here I come. Smells good, funny. 1-star negative review. Compared to the comments section of other games, the comments section of Battle Online was extremely different. In particular, the amount of time the players spent online in the comments section shocked the other players who entered the comments section. It was common to play for tens of thousands of hours, and even a few thousand hours were rare. They could not understand what kind of game this was. One had to know that the thousands of hours of online players in the comments section of other games were basically diehard fans. However, in Battle's comments section, the thousands of hours of online time was considered as a younger brother. In fact, he was not even considered as a younger brother. The players who were browsing the E3 online platform and looking for new games were dumbfounded. Moreover, Battle's ratings were all 1-star negative. Coupled with the godlike length of time spent online in the comments section, the players who were unaware of the situation found it very strange. At this moment, the first thought of many players who entered the comments section of Battle Online and saw the negative reviews was, "Since it's not fun, what the hell is with the amount of time spent online in the game?" Connecting with the game's platform and displaying the length of time the players who commented on the game had spent online was originally set up by the E3 developers to prevent malicious manipulation of ratings. It was also because of this that Battle Online players exposed the truth. Apart from the star rating, the length of time spent online was also a very important criterion. Although the players who commented on the game were calling it a trashy game, the length of time spent online was the actual data. The negative review incident by Battle Online players naturally caught the attention of the gaming media. Lu Wu did not even need to spend any money before they started reporting on it. Before the official start of the E3 exhibition, it had already attracted the attention of a large number of new players. Lu Wu could not help but roll his eyes at the players' ridiculous actions. Although these Battle Online players tried all sorts of ways to dissuade new players from playing the game on the E3 online platform, the ones who played the game the most were still the players who scolded Battle Online as a trashy game. Lu Wu was too lazy to care about this because he was not interested in these awards. What he wanted was the exposure of the game, to let more people know about Battle Royale. This negative review incident was a great advertisement for the game. However, to Lu Wu's surprise, the situation took a turn for the better very quickly. One day before the start of the E3 exhibition, the 1-star negative reviews were all changed to 5-star positive reviews. The reason was simple. Scolding was one thing, but the players still loved Battle Royale. This showy move was just to prove to the Battle Online officials that the power of the players was not to be underestimated. They asked them to love the players, organize more events, and give more soul coins. Therefore, after some suppression, the Battle Online players raised the banner of Battle Online is the best, and began to give full marks for Battle Online. Awards such as Best Game, Best Original Work, Best Social Interaction, and so on. The Battle Online players only had one thought: we want them all. In short, Battle Online is the best in the world. Chapter 567. Instead, he held Lil Bei Li's hand and strolled around the A1 area. She was obviously so cute, so how could she say such cruel words? As for the evil forces that entered the exhibition hall with Lu Wu, they were already rushing toward the A3 exhibition hall aggressively. Listen, that's what a human should say. If the exhibition hall was open to the public, the huge crowd would not be able to accommodate it. In Lu Wu's opinion, the players had too many soul coins and were in need of exploitation. This game was a classic whether it was in the industry or among the players. The meme of Yang Yongxin, the Lightning King, was also created because of Warcraft. Even the CCTV criticized this game, because he was surrounded by players from Battle Royale, especially the few masked guys. Although he could not see their expressions, Lu Wu could vaguely feel the murderous aura emanating from them. They even waved their broadswords from time to time. When Warcraft entered Chi Dragon in 2005, many players were addicted to it. Since it was rare for him to be here, he naturally wanted to see the flagship games of this year from other manufacturers. When World of Warcraft, the classic MMO game, began to decline, Blizzard had a crazy plan to create a super game to replace World of Warcraft. Lu Wu was helpless when his gluttonous nature was exposed. Due to the strict security system in the exhibition hall, all controlled weapons such as knives were prohibited. There were countries, factions, and even a powerful social system. However, there was an exception, and that was these weapons that were known as cosplay prop. Grudge +4. He was also looking forward to the competition between the flagship games of the major game manufacturers in this E3 game exhibition. He hoped to find a game that he liked to satisfy his future need. These works reminded Lu Wu of his childhood, when he was obsessed with games. Since the content of Titan was too complicated and the idea was too advanced, the Titan project was ultimately aborted. In this era, games were the essential spice of life for many young people. Their influence had far exceeded what it used to be, and they were the most influential entertainment industry. This had something to do with the game Titan that was currently withdrawn from the exhibition hall. Lil Bailey held Lu Wu's hand as they walked along the crowd. Her eyes were always focused on the snacks in the hands of other players in line, and she was almost drooling. The opening of the exhibition came as the players waited expectantly. Even in this era where there were so many games, players were still very hungry for good games. This gaming exhibition was a place for these players to find good games. Lu Wu even saw a guy holding a dagger mumble, "You're not going to die." However, it was a fact that most of the developers in the early days of the game were die-hard Warcraft fans. With the improvement of virtual equipment, this was the golden age of virtual games. In the early days, Blizzard was undoubtedly a mythical existence in the hearts of the players. The world of Warcraft that they developed was considered an unsurpassable MMO, massively multiplayer online game. However, that was all in the past. My backstab is thirsting for blood. As the boss behind the game, Lu Wu could feel the murderous aura surrounding him. They had spent too much energy on Titan, and Blizzard didn't have any new games to connect with the era of new games. The reason was that the exhibition was too popular. At that time, there was a saying in the gaming circle, "Blizzard's products must be the best." He looked like he was leveling up and killing. Many gameplay styles were also developed from World of Warcraft, which was then copied by other game manufacturers. This was because this game was one that he was looking forward to, but Lu Wu thought that it was a series that he would only see in his lifetime. He didn't think that he would be able to see the release of Titan while he was still alive. Even a game manufacturer like Activision Blizzard didn't have it in the past. These visitors came from all over the world, but they had one thing in common: they loved games very much. Along the way, Lu Wu had seen a lot of these battle players, and most of them came in group. Lu Wu knew about this part of Blizzard's history, and he felt a little emotional when he saw the cinematic of Titan on EA's booth. The Battle League players took advantage of this cleverly, and they brought weapons that could be found in the shop of Battle League. Unlike hundreds of years ago, the E3 gaming exhibition was only open to industry insiders, such as game designers, game journalists, media, and so on. This was because Blizzard wanted to create a game similar to the current Battle Online, a game that covered all the gameplay styles, and a world that was similar to the size of Earth. At this moment, the E3 exhibition hall was already crowded with people. This year's E3 gaming exhibition was such a grand event in the gaming industry. For example, the flagship game released by the Polish idiot this year, Cyberpunk 2077. For this, the Battle League players even prepared a batch of special tools. At the beginning of the 21st century, 80% of the earliest group of game developers were loyal World of Warcraft players, and basically all of them had played this game. Lu Wu even saw a group of masked players wearing t-shirts with the demonic god's logo printed on it. There were exactly 50 of them. This instantly reminded Lu Wu of the recruitment on the forum, and the few Chunibu players who wanted to kidnap him in exchange for godly equipment. They didn't even need the help of godly equipment, their identities as Battle League players were already written on their faces. This year, Ubisoft released Assassin's Creed, Future World and Far Cry 46. However, it was this game that ultimately brought down Blizzard. It was around 2007, and for the production of this game, All the project teams under Blizzard were involved, including the entire team of World of Warcraft. From then on, Blizzard began to step down from its pedestal. Blizzard's achievements were not limited to just this, such as the Diablo series, StarCraft series, War 3, and so on. Looking at the players' posture, it didn't seem like they were joking at all, which made Lu Wu very embarrassed. These B** stards were getting more and more unbridled. They really deserve to be exploited. I'll suppress them when I get back. How much hatred, how much hatred! Some of them were cosplaying as NPCs in battle, some were holding weapons and tools made by Little Bailey in the game, and some were wearing shirts with the logo Battle League number 1 printed on it. Moreover, Lu Wu could tell that these Battle League players were up to no good at all. Moreover, it was more than 4 billion from 300 years ago. Grudge +1. The reason was that the Titan project had dealt a heavy blow to Blizzard during its glorious period. Lu Wu took out his phone to confirm, and after a security scan, he successfully entered. After confirming the booth of Battle League, Lu Wu didn't go straight there. He followed the team into the A1 exhibition hall, where soothing music was playing, and the staff at the various booths were already ready to welcome the visitors. These parents were also crazy about games when they were young, spent money on them, and even stayed up late to watch esports competitions. It would be very easy to educate their children based on their interests. This was also the good side of games for many parents. After waiting for about half an hour, Lu Wu finally arrived at the ticket gate. At the same time, in order to accommodate more visitors, the venue was renovated, and the area was expanded by more than 10 times. Even now, there were still too many games that were influenced by World of Warcraft. Grudge +3. For this, Blizzard invested a large amount of funds. The initial investment was $100 million, and the subsequent investment reached $700 million, which was equivalent to more than 4 billion renminbi. On the screen, there was a scrolling display of the exhibition hall area where the major game manufacturers were located, as well as the specific booth number. There was no doubt that the Warcraft at its peak was a legend. For example, words like hammering, torturing, beheading, rubbing on the ground, and so on were naturally referring to the official of Battle League, Lu Wu. That was the youth that he had once lost. He even heard a cute girl beside him say to her partner that if she saw the official later, she would smash his head with the staff in her hand. As he walked along the marked passage to enter the exhibition hall, Lu Wu noticed that the expressions of the players around him seemed to be getting more and more ferocious. At that time, many game manufacturers did not even dare to imagine that the production cost of a game could reach such a level. Along the way, Lu Wu realized that many of the games released by the major game manufacturers this year were the ones that he had been looking forward to. He even thought that they would be Series 3A masterpieces in his lifetime. Grudge +2. It could be said that this generation of parents understood their children very well, and they had a common language. Lu Wu did not know whether to laugh or cry, but he would not take it seriously. This game was also considered by many media outlets to be Battle Royale's biggest opponent today. There was already such news even before the start of E3. It was precisely because of these reasons that the rise of the game industry was unstoppable. Although the legacy of the Titan project created games such as Overwatch and Heroes of the Storm, which were also popular for a while, the subsequent Blizzard was showing signs of fatigue. America, Los Angeles. Lu Wu could not help but feel a little emotional when he saw the Titan character models and virtual CG images on EA's booth. Battle Online, Seat A3-1. Many parents would even play games with their children, leading them to explore the wonderful world in the game. However, among these games, the one that caught Lu Wu's attention the most was Titan, the flagship game released by Activision Blizzard this year. However, it was different now. In order to attract more game lovers and expand the influence of E3, this tradition was abandoned 100 years ago and changed to a ticket system. At that moment, Lu Wu set his eyes on a huge monitor hanging in the center of the exhibition hall. However, it could also be said that Titan was not a product of that era. As the doors of the exhibition hall opened, the players who were waiting outside swarmed in. As long as it did not affect their studies, playing games was considered a spice in their lives by the parents. It was also an essential conversation topic for their children to socialize with their peers, so they would not be seen as a scourge. As for how Lu Wu knew that these people were Battle League players, it was not because of the artifact's detection, but because of the way they dressed. At that moment, Lu Wu mixed into the crowd with Lil Bailey. The opening day of the annual E3 game exhibition brought a huge flow of tourists to the city. There were also Nintendo's Zelda series, the Gay Club's Star Wars series, the Card Club's Resident Evil sequels, and so on. In this new era, no parents would think that it was unreasonable for their children to like playing games, because they were also the generation that had been baptized by games, so they could understand their children's thoughts very well. Chapter 568. Lu Wu suddenly had the urge to try out the game when he saw the display of Titan on EA's booth. He immediately led Lil Bailey to the front of the booth. Upon seeing this, the staff in the booth smiled at Lu Wu and said, "Sir, would you like to try it out?" Lu Wu nodded, then led Lil Bailey to the booth under the staff's instruction and sat down. The staff brought the virtual reality helmet and passed it to Lu Wu, then looked at Lil Bailey. "She doesn't need it, one is enough." Lu Wu smiled. The staff nodded and began to introduce the game. Lu Wu listened attentively. These things were more or less useful to him because he was now an architect of a game world. After listening to the introduction, Lu Wu put on the virtual reality helmet and entered the game under the staff's guidance. However, Lu Wu quit the game after a while. He had to admit that the game was really good. The degree of realism was far better than all the games at this stage. However, compared to Battle, the difference was still too big. The most obvious point was that leveling up in the game did not change one's body, which was far inferior to Battle. At this moment, Lu Wu suddenly felt pity for Blizzard. Why did he have to meet him? He was definitely going to be defeated. "What's wrong, sir? Are you unhappy with the game?" The staff was surprised to see Lu Wu take off the virtual reality helmet. "No, the game is very good. Good luck." Lu Wu smiled faintly. He held Lil Bailey's hand and walked out of the EA booth, leaving behind a dumbfounded staff. Although Lu Wu used to be a fan of Blizzard, but Battle was the best in the world, and he did not accept any rebuttals. After all, Battle was his own son. Lu Wu walked slowly, stopping every now and then. He arrived at the end of Hall A1. There were two choices in front, Hall A2 and Hall A3. After some thought, Lu Wu walked to Hall A3 where the battle booth was located. The moment he entered the hall, Lu Wu was stunned by the scene in front of him. There was a sea of people in front of the battle booth at the first spot. A large group of cosplayers formed a circle around the booth, forming a long queue of 16 people. One of the queues had already reached the entrance of Hall A1 from Hall A3. Lu Wu also saw the cosplayers who had threatened to smash his head into pieces. They were also queuing up at the moment. Moreover, all of them had obedient looks on their faces. It was impossible to tell that they were the evil forces from before. This piqued Lu Wu's curiosity. It was completely different from what he had imagined. At this point, Lu Wu could not help but ask the masked man who was also queuing up. "I have a question. Didn't you say that you were going to smash the heads of the damned officials? Why are you queuing up now?" When Masked Man heard this, he could not help but be stunned. "Are you a Battle League player too?" Lu Wu nodded. "Yeah, he's a newbie." "Then hurry up and queue up. Don't miss out on getting one." "Oh yeah, don't even think about cutting the queue. You know how powerful Battle League players are. You should be more humble as a newbie. What are you guys fighting over?" Lu Wu was stunned. He did not understand what they were talking about. "Figurines. I might have a chance to get the figurines of the NPCs from the major servers while I queue up. It'll be too late if I wait. I'm hoping to get a figurine of a lady from the Wood Spirit clan or Tonghua. As he spoke, the masked man had an expectant look on his face. Lu Wu nodded in realization. Only then did he remember that Wu Gui did mention to him that he would create a batch of figurines of Battle League's NPCs during this E3 gaming exhibition. He would give them to the players as gifts during the exhibition. After understanding the reason, Lu Wu could not help but laugh as he looked at the group of Battle League players who were previously vicious wolves queuing up obediently like little lambs. "Brother, what are you laughing at? Hurry up and queue up. It'll be gone soon." The masked man could not help but remind Lu Wu when he saw him standing there with a silly smile on his face. Lu Wu thought about it and felt helpless, so he went to the back of the line. Just as the masked man said, the number of players in Hall A3 was increasing rapidly as more and more players passed through the security check. At this moment, Lu Wu noticed that the staff at the A3 gaming booth had a resentful look on their faces. This was because the Battle League players had already queued up to their booth. At first, they were excited that there would be players coming to experience the flagship game. However, it turned out that they were all Battle League players. Although these players were saying things like "sorry," "excuse me," "borrow my seat," and so on, they still felt extremely resentful. They felt that they could not stay in Hall A3 anymore. What was there to showcase when it was filled with Battle League players? Of course, this was only one of the reasons for their resentment. There was also a portion of the booth staff who were also Battle League players. Seeing other players queuing up to get their figurines while they could only stick to their posts was torturous for them. They wanted to join the queue very much. Especially when they saw other players getting their favorite figurines at the Battle League booth, they were so jealous that they were about to lose their mind. In less than half an hour, Hall A3 was full and there was no room for any more players. At this moment, the players who wanted to enter but could not do so could only curse outside the passageway. Their hearts were filled with resentment, hating that they were not in front of the queue. At this time, Lu Wu and Lil Bailey had also queued up in front of the booth. Seeing that Lu Wu was observing the situation inside the booth, the staff passed the lucky draw box to Lu Wu and said apologetically, "Sir, can you hurry up and draw the lucky draw? Sir, can you hurry up and draw the lottery? There are still many players waiting behind." Lu Wu nodded and reached his hand into the lucky draw box. When Lu Wu took out the piece of paper that he had grabbed, the surrounding air suddenly froze. At this time, Lu Wu was holding a golden piece of paper. There was a line of words written on it, "Collector's Edition Tong Gua Figurine." At this moment, Lu Wu once again felt the murderous aura coming from all directions. He could vaguely hear the whispers around him. "Damn lucky Emperor, the only collector's edition figurine was taken away. Damn it, make me a human. I'm going crazy. I want this figurine too. I don't know if he will sell it to me. Brother, I have a bold idea. Didn't we bring weapons? Let's do it? Oh my God, it's the collector's edition. Why didn't I get it? He's so lucky. He'll be ganged up on. Let me bear this pain, I'll take the ganging up on him." Listening to the whispers of the players around him, Lu Wu was dumbfounded. In fact, he had no interest in the figurine at all. After all, he could meet the real person anytime he wanted. The reason he queued was just to observe the layout of the battle booth from a close distance. However, since the queue was already in front of him, it would be weird if he didn't draw the lucky draw. Hence, he grabbed it casually. He, who wanted to keep a low profile, instantly became the center of attention. At this moment, Lu Wu really wanted to say something. "Can I not take it?" However, he couldn't say that. Lu Wu knew very well that insulting battle would only result in a beating. Although these players often scolded in the forum, they were the only ones allowed to do so. They were still very protective of battle's image, otherwise there wouldn't have been a fight in Japan. Therefore, Lu Wu felt that if he said that he did not want it, he would definitely be dragged into a corner by battle's die-hard fans and have his head smashed. "Congratulations! You have won the only collector's edition figurine this time. the staff in the booth said to Lu Wu with a smile after a brief moment of surprise. Then, he took out a golden box from under the counter and handed it to Lu Wu. Lu Wu thought for a while and took it. Instantly, the murderous aura around him intensified. These battle players had experienced the battlefield, and they already had the murderous aura of a soldier. At this moment, it was about to materialize and target Lu Wu. At this moment, Lu Wu felt extremely sad. I wanted to keep a low profile, how did it turn out like this? My damned luck. Brother, name a price, I'll buy it. At this moment, a player walked to Lu Wu's side and looked at him expectantly. Upon hearing this, Lu Wu apologized and pulled Lil Bailey away from the man. As he squeezed his way to the other exhibition halls with Lil Bailey, Lu Wu heard many inquiries from battle players. This gave him a headache. However, he rejected all of them. After all, it was his game. Since he had won it, he couldn't sell it. This was the least he could do out of respect. His behavior also made the players who wanted the collector's edition figurine of Tong Gua feel resentful. They were all cursing in their hearts, the lucky emperor will die a horrible death. Lu Wu heaved a sigh of relief when he finally walked out of Exhibition Hall A3 with Lil Bailey. The player's passion for battle had exceeded his expectations. At this moment, Lu Wu was in Exhibition Hall A4. However, he had lost interest in strolling around. Instead, he brought Lil Bailey to find a place to sit down. They were waiting for the award ceremony to begin. At this moment, Lil Bailey raised her head and looked at Lu Wu. Big Cat, do you know why you got the collector's edition figurine? Lu Wu was a little shocked when he heard this. Isn't it because I'm lucky? Of course not, it's because you've cultivated the Emperor's mirror. The luck of the human race is on you. In other words, you have the luck of the lucky Emperor. There's such an effect. Of course, the Emperor is the leader of the human race. It's inevitable for him to gather the luck of the human race. Lil Bailey said proudly. Upon hearing this, Lu Wu suddenly understood. Before he met Lil Bailey, he had never won a prize in the lottery. He couldn't even draw an SSR card when he played games. Today's performance was completely different from before. Your luck will only get better in the future. As the cultivation of the Emperor's mirror deepens and the power of the human race grows, your luck will continue to improve. Lu Wu nodded and reached out to rub Lil Bailey's head. Just as he was about to speak, his phone rang. He picked up the phone and heard Wu Gui's voice. Brother Lu, where are you now? The award ceremony will begin in 2 hours. I have a seat near the front for you, right next to me. When he heard that Wu Gui had a seat near the front for him, Lu Wu was about to agree. However, when he heard what Wu Gui said, he immediately gave up on the idea. What a joke! How could he sit next to Wu Gui? What if the players suspected that he was a member of the behind-the-scenes team of battle? If that really happened, it would be difficult for him to even attend E3. These players who were extremely thirsty for soul coins were known as gangsters in the underworld. They were not to be trifled with. No, I'll just watch from afar. Lu Wu answered immediately. Why? Wu Gui was stunned. I have good eyesight. Chapter 569. After rejecting Wu Gui's invitation, Lu Wu stopped wandering around and found a place to sit down. While chatting with Bailey, he waited for the award ceremony to begin. After experiencing Blizzard's flagship game, Titan, Lu Wu understood that there was no other game in this era that could compete with Battle Royale. To Lu Wu, this might be a tragedy for many game manufacturers, but he also knew that it would be a golden age for the players. 2 hours passed quickly as he chatted with Lil Bailey. The E3 Gaming Awards ceremony had officially begun. Seeing the notification that appeared on the big screen in the center of the exhibition hall, Lu Wu immediately stood up and held Lil Bailey's hand as they walked to the award area. The award area was also the size of an exhibition hall. However, not everyone could enter this exhibition hall as they had to verify the eligibility of the electronic tickets of the entrance. This threshold was mainly set up to prevent a huge influx of people, which would make it difficult for the awards to proceed smoothly. The 2 tickets in Lu Wu's hand were given by Wu Guori, so naturally, there was no problem. After passing the ticket check, they walked straight into the exhibition hall. The interior was structured like a theater. At the front was a podium and a 3-meter-tall holographic projection device. Apart from the first 2 rows, the visitors who entered the hall could choose their seats at will. Since he was late, Lu Wu naturally only had the seat at the back. Lu Wu didn't care about this and dragged Lil Bailey to the last row. While waiting, Lu Wu suddenly raised his head and looked at the VIP passage in front of him. At this moment, a group of people walked out and entered the hall. Lu Wu was familiar with one of them, it was Wu Guori. At this moment, Wu Guori was surrounded by the crowd and looked helpless. It could be said that he had to bear all the pain that Lu Wu was supposed to bear. The people around him were all inquiring about the content of Battle Royale. Some of them were even probing him with information about the production team behind the scenes. Their goal was simple, they wanted to poach people from battle. This was very common in the game industry. It could be said that the development of the game industry was dominated by the vicious competition of poaching people. Now it was even more so. This was because the game industry had always been in a state of scarcity. For example, the first batch of game developers in Dragon Nation who worked in major game manufacturers were basically poached by them from Shanda. Another example was Warcraft's famous chief game designer Ghost Crab, who was poached by Fist and became the chief designer of League of Legends. There were many other similar poaching stories. This poaching tradition had been well preserved until now. Therefore, in the eyes of these game manufacturers, as long as they offered enough benefits, they might be able to poach the research and development team behind the scenes of Battle Royale. Every major game manufacturer had long been envious of the developers behind the scenes who were able to produce such an epic-making game like Battle. Thus, since it was rare for him to meet Wu Guori, he naturally wanted to sound him out and even try to dig into him. However, apart from Lu Wu, Wu Guori did not know any of the R&D personnel. Although she had requested to meet him a few times, Lu Wu had always declined. So at this moment, he really wanted to say, "I only know the King boss, Battle God. Do you guys want to poach him?" Lu Wu, who had the strength of a Ghost King, naturally heard the conversation between the game producers and Wu Guori. He immediately turned his head to look at Lil Bailey, who was at Gu Yu's stall, and a smile appeared on his face. This was because there was only one person in the R&D team of Battle Royale, and that was Lil Bailey. Moreover, she was bound to him, the kind that could not be poached away. Thinking of this, he subconsciously reached out and rubbed Lil Bailey's little head. Lil Bailey immediately gave him a look of disdain. After Wu Guori and the others took their seats, the game awards officially began. At this time, the person in charge of the E3 organizers walked onto the stage, and the virtual image was activated. A data panel suddenly appeared in front of the audience. It recorded the ratings of the major games at this stage. At this moment, Battle Online was at the top of the list. The total online time was followed by a long string of zeros. It could be said that the zeros were enough to hang the second place, Galaxy Online, and its market share was as high as a terrifying 53%. This kind of achievement had never been seen before, except during the era when the game was just starting out and was very scarce. The data had already proved the dominance of Battle Royale in this era. This was also a fact that the major game manufacturers did not want to admit. At this time, the person in charge of the E3 exhibition, who was standing on the stage, clicked on the introduction interface of Battle Online. Suddenly, the game's cinematics appeared in front of the audience, and the person in charge began to introduce the game. However, compared to the comprehensive data introduction of other games, Battle Online had pitifully little information, and there were all kinds of question marks behind it. Game. Battle Online, head of production? Game engine? Name of production team. Agent. 173 Wu Gui Game copyright owner? These question marks added a sense of mystery to Battle Online. The E3 organizers were very helpless about this. They had asked Wu Gui about this, but they could not get any useful information. According to Wu Gui, although he was the agent, he did not know anything. Left with no choice, the E3 organizers could only collect the media's descriptions to introduce the game. After a round of introduction, the person in charge suddenly said, "Now, let's welcome Battle Agent, Mr. Wu Gui, to speak." At this moment, everyone in the room suddenly perked up. This was because there was a very important segment at this time, and that was the question. In this regard, Wu Gui was a little nervous. After all, he really did not know anything. However, after he walked up to the stage, he still opened his mouth and said, "Actually, I don't know much about Battle Online, but please ask me questions, and I'll try my best to answer them." At this moment, pairs of hands were raised, and everyone stared at Wu Gui with anticipation. Seeing this, Wu Gui began to ask questions. "Mr. Wu Gui, I would like to ask, how many employees are there in such a mysterious team behind Battle Online? How did they manage to keep it so secret?" "I'm not sure, I'm just the agent." "I would like to ask, with such a large number of Battle Online players, the server maintenance fee should be very high. If they continue to burn money like this, will there be a day when they can't support it? Is there a need to start a charging system, even if it doesn't affect the balance of the game?" "No, I've also asked the behind-the-scenes boss about this, and he told me clearly that there will be no charges, and that they will resolutely implement the principle of generating electricity with love. When will that dog of a developer distribute soul coins? When will they start signing in rewards, and when will they give out artifacts?" Question from a Battle Online player. "As far as I know, it's impossible in this lifetime. When will the dog of a developer strengthen our European server, and let us surpass the original server?" "I'm just the agent. I'm not in charge of the internal operations of the game, and I have no right to interfere with the content of the game. Is the boss of Battle Online here today? I remember you mentioned last time that he would be at E3 as well." "He's here, but forgive me for not being able to reveal his identity." "Then, is he at the awards ceremony now?" "He should be." Wu Gui smirked as he said this. "Wu Gui, you hold a grudge +5. Hearing Wu Gui's answer, Lu Wu could not help but grit his teeth. As for the seated Battle Online players, when they heard that the behind-the-scenes boss of Battle Online was also present, their expressions gradually turned ferocious. They began to turn their heads and look around suspiciously, trying to use their sharp sense of smell to locate that damn dog of a developer. Looking at the murderous gazes sweeping over him, Lu Wu, holding a grudge +6. Sensing that the atmosphere in the venue was not right, the person in charge quickly stepped forward and signaled that Wu Gui's speech was over. Hearing this, Wu Gui walked off the stage without hesitation. In fact, he was also very sad, feeling that he had become Lu Wu's shield and a target for everyone to vent their anger on. It would be fine if he knew some inside information, but the problem was that he was always being misunderstood even though he knew nothing. However, when Wu Gui said that the behind-the-scenes boss of Battle Online might be in the venue, the gazes that had been staring at him immediately faded away. Now, this group of hungry wolves began to search for the more important behind-the-scenes boss of Battle Online. They would give him a backstab filled with love. Since Battle Online was introduced first, the players were no longer paying attention to the subsequent introductions of the game. Even the person in charge of the game manufacturers who did not play Battle Online was secretly searching for Lu Wu, hoping to collaborate with him. Although they knew that it was impossible for them to obtain the agency rights of Battle Online, they still had another goal, which was to obtain the authorization of Battle Online's game engine. They believed that the behind-the-scenes boss of Battle Online would not reject this request. After all, authorizing the game engine would not affect the game in any way. Therefore, these game manufacturers felt that as long as they offered a high price, they would definitely stand a chance. This was just like Epic in the past. This was originally a game company, until they developed the Unreal 4 engine. Since then, they had been living a life of earning money while lying down. It could be said that with the Unreal 4 engine, Epic could earn a huge amount of money every year in licensing fees. As for Battle Online, in the eyes of these major game manufacturers, the high degree of realism in the game must be inseparable from the game engine. Of course, they could not imitate it by relying on their own abilities, but there was still a shortcut, which was to obtain the authorization of the game engine. At this moment, everyone in the room had their own thoughts, and everyone they looked at was suspicious. Although Lu Wu had the strength of a ghost king, he still felt very sad at this moment. If he was discovered, he could not possibly start a massacre. As the descendant of Battle Online, many of the people in the room were his future subordinates. According to the saying that those who cultivated the Emperor's mirror would become the Emperor, all the humans in the world were his people. Therefore, they were all his people, and he could not kill them. Fortunately, although these gazes swept past Lu Wu, they did not linger for too long. From their point of view, Lu Wu looked too young to be the behind-the-scenes boss of Battle Online. On the other hand, those who looked more mature became the main targets of suspicion. The awards ceremony, which was supposed to focus on the flagship games of major game manufacturers, instantly became a scene of investigation. Moreover, there was only one criminal, and the rest were all Sherlock Holmes. At the final awards ceremony, just as Lu Wu had expected, Battle Online won almost all the awards. Although Battle Online had a good reputation among the players, it had never won any awards to prove its worth. However, at this E3 exhibition, Battle Online was officially crowned a god. Lu Wu could already see the scene of a large number of new players flooding into the venue. After the awards ceremony officially ended, Lu Wu was about to walk out of the venue with Lil Bailey. However, he was shocked to find that the entrance was surrounded by a lot of people. These evil Battle Online players were trying to find Lu Wu from the vast sea of people and kidnap him. The kind that could only be redeemed with high soul coins. Seeing this scene, Lu Wu smiled indifferently. Naturally, he would not be calculative about it. That was because they were all gamers who loved the game battle, and they would be his future subordinates. As the future leader of the human race, Lu Wu still had this bit of magnanimity. Therefore, I will hold a grudge, and all of you can wait for your death. Just wait for me to squeeze all of your soul coins dry, and I will let you know the wrath of a privileged dog. Chapter 570. The E3 exhibition that day left Lu Wu with a lingering fear. The players who came out of the award hall spread the news that the boss behind the scenes of Battle Royale was present. In order to catch this mysterious boss behind the scenes, the players spontaneously united and formed layers of interrogation checkpoints. They swore to catch him and talk to him about the benefits of the game. Fortunately, although these players knew that Lu Wu was present, they did not know what he looked like or how old he was. They could only ask with a pale face, "Are you the boss of Battle Royale? I think you're a little suspicious. Don't tell me it's you. Stop pretending. I know it's you. Hurry up and admit it." They coaxed Lu Wu with such words in an attempt to catch him. In this regard, Lu Wu could only say that this batch of players was still too young. After all, he would not admit it even if he died, and the players did not suspect him too much. After all, Lu Wu, who was holding the hand of a silly little loli, did not look like the boss with 3 heads and 6 arms that the players once described in the forum. Therefore, Lu Wu managed to muddle through. On that day, the forum was even more heated because of this matter. The players who did not attend the exhibition were complaining that the players who did attend the exhibition were so incompetent. What a great opportunity to catch the boss behind the scenes, and now they had missed it. When would they be able to talk about benefits in the future? If they were there, they would have caught him on the spot. Anyway, most of the players who did not attend the exhibition expressed the same opinion. That was, if they were there, they would definitely be able to catch the boss behind the scenes. Everyone else who was there was trash. Anyway, the matter was over. No matter how much they bragged about it, it would not be exposed. However, the players were actually very happy in their hearts. They all regarded the game Battle Royale as their second world and home. Although they did not attend the exhibition, they saw that Battle Royale had won almost all the game awards in the live broadcast. It felt like they were the ones who won the award. On that day, the bullet screen in the live broadcast room was flooded with Battle Royale number 1. This kind of player cohesiveness was not found in other games. This wave of E3 publicity also allowed more players in the world to know about the game Battle. Although many people might have heard of this game before, they did not try it. However, after this time, Battle Royale, which had many authoritative certifications and awards, caused a strong reaction in the gaming circle. This was the effect of publicity. It was like a TV commercial. You might not care about it once or twice, but after a few times, it would leave a subtle impression. Driven by curiosity, many players had the urge to try out Battle. They wanted to see if this game was as best in the world as advertised. Lu Wu was never worried about the quality of the game. He was only worried that the players would not play it, because once they tried, it would be difficult to get out again. In fact, he couldn't even chase her away. He, the great Devil King, had the most say in this. There were a few times when he had the thought of uninstalling the game and quitting, but his current state could only be described as wonderful. Lu Wu was the happiest among all the newbies. After returning home, he had been paying attention to this matter. The increase in the number of players also meant an increase in the production of soul coins in the future. The scale of his Scourge army had expanded once again. The other game manufacturers were the ones who suffered the most from Battle Royale's popularity. These players were supposed to be their lead. Now that they were poached away by campaign, how could they not grit their teeth? However, no matter how they investigated, they could not find any information about the team behind Battle Royale or their boss. Wanting to purchase Battle Royale's virtual engine and create a game similar to Battle Royale was even more of a pipe dream. The darkest hour for the game manufacturers was coming. Battle Royale would step on the corpses of these game manufacturers to reach the top. It was only a matter of time. Meanwhile, in the game, the area of the Mansion of the Dead in Bakey underwent an update with the influx of newbies. The area had more than doubled in this update. It was not only the Mansion of the Dead, but also the main city areas of all the servers. For this, Lu Wu had to spend a large amount of soul coins. His inventory was reduced by more than half. However, Lu Wu was not worried at all. As the saying goes, wool comes from the sheep. If he did not spend money on feed, would he be able to produce wool? Every investment was for a better harvest. Of course, not having money was not a problem. Hence, Lu Wu started a wave of activities. That was the Corium Roulette. The Lucky Roulette. This time, all 5 servers were opened at the same time. The method of the activity was to get a lucky draw ticket for 30 soul coins. As for luck, no matter how low it was, with such a large number of players, there was bound to be something good. As for the good stuff, Lu Wu would announce it to the whole server. This move was indeed effective. Although many players could smell the danger coming from the lousy officials, they could not help but feel itchy when they saw a server announcement appearing in a short while. Once there was a first, there would be a second, and then there would be 100. Tonghua had the most say in this matter. He clearly knew that Lu Wu wanted to cheat the players of their soul coins. However, for Tonghua, who loved to gamble, he would think, what if I'm the player who got something good? But when he tried it once, it was followed by 100 times. The soul coins that he had painstakingly saved up for blacksmithing and moving bricks were depleted once again. Not only Tonghua, but even the simple-minded Wood Spirit clan had been influenced by the players. Spending money was fun for a while. Spending money all the time was fun. What the hell? Many young ladies of the Wood Spirit clan had also become poor. They could only secretly wipe away their tears and continue carrying bricks and brewing wine to earn some money. It was easy to get addicted to spending money. Many hamsters did not like to spend soul coins. They liked to accumulate soul coins because it gave them a sense of security. After this wave, many of the hamster players became autistic, and they even had the thought of dying. Although some players did get the best equipment and high soul coins in return, they felt that they had made a huge profit. This group of people became the lucky emperor that the players on the forum criticized. But even if they made a profit, Lu Wu did not lose anything. He was the biggest winner. After this round, Lu Wu's stock of soul coins was greatly depleted. It could be said that the players spent soul coins on the construction of each server. He did not have to spend a single cent. After holding a grudge for so many times, he had successfully suppressed them. Suddenly, he felt much better and more broad-minded. Most importantly, the players in this event basically blamed their bad luck, not the malicious suppression from the lousy officials. After all, they had always thought that soul coins were only useful to the players. To the lousy officials, they were just a string of numbers. They could produce as many soul coins as they wanted. However, it was always depressing to be judged as an unlucky bloodline because they could not get anything good. This was a fact that every player was unwilling to accept. As the big boss behind the scenes, Lu Wu watched the players cursing and swearing in the forum and laughed heartily. He could not help but smile in relief. What a happy day! The land of Baiki. After the end of the pay-to-win roulette event, the newbie players began to train in the Ghost Mountains and other places according to the guidance of the veteran players. They had officially embarked on the journey of war. The veteran players, on the other hand, set off toward the south of Baiki, where the Arctic abyss was located. In the past 6 months, Baiki had finally broken out in a war with the Corpse Clan. The cause of the war was not just a problem of resources. In fact, the players also had their own criteria for judging the enemy. For example, the Rahu clan that occupied the land of the 9 luminaries. The players had provoked them many times, but the Rahu clan had never taken the initiative to attack Baiki. They had always adopted a peaceful policy. It was not that the Rahu clan could not compete with the player clan. The players had seen the combat power of the Rahu clan with their own eyes. They had once crushed the forces of the land of the 9 luminaries, which had once wiped out the players, so they were not afraid of the players at all. Of course, that was only in the past. The combat power of the players now was far from what it used to be. Even if they were to fight against the land of Rahu, they would not be much weaker. Other than the top combat power, the players were almost all ghost commanders, so they were not afraid of becoming enemies with any forces. However, the Rahu clan had tolerated their provocations many times without retaliating. The players had also sensed the goodwill of the Rahu clan. Hence, the number of times the players went to the land of the 9 luminaries decreased. The war with the Corpse clan was not a problem of resources, but a problem of standpoint. The cause was the earth-shattering battle between the demonic god and Hidorigami. Half a year ago, the demonic god discovered that Hidorigami's soul fragment had gone missing. He angrily began to search for Hidorigami's soul. Along the way, he found the land of Sunluo. In the end, he met Hidorigami, who had just advanced to the peak of the demigod realm. Both of them seemed to be fated rivals. When enemies met, their eyes turned red and a battle broke out on the spot. Although Hidorigami had the combat power of the peak of the demigod realm, he was still no match for the demonic god. The battle lasted for half a day, and the huge commotion attracted the attention of many players. Many of them risked their lives to secretly take pictures of the battle and broadcast it on the forum. This battle was the scariest battle that the players had ever seen. The demonic god and Hidorigami seemed to have the power to destroy the earth. The players were thrilled to see it. Just when the players thought that the demonic god was going to smash the resurrected Hidorigami's head, something unexpected happened. The 2 emperors of the Corpse clan, Chiba and Lai Ba, were thrown into Hidorigami's mouth, and turned into his power. What the demonic god did not expect was that Hidorigami disappeared after that. He entered the Six Realms space and accepted the great emperor's pardon. He successfully advanced to the divine state and left his name on the underworld god list. Hidorigami, who had returned, had become extremely powerful. With the help of his sister, who had come into contact with the law of time and space, and the high-level generals of the Corpse Clan, they had the power to fight a fierce battle. The battle lasted for 5 days and 5 nights. Hidorigami and the demonic god were both severely injured and fell into a coma. At that time, the demonic god was in a very dangerous situation. In order to kill the demonic god while he was unconscious, Meiba gathered all the Corpse Clan in the Sunluo region and climbed onto the demonic god's body. She wanted to devour and refine him while he was unconscious. However, the Corpse Clan did not expect that the natural disaster of the players would come at this time. The ones who initiated the demonic god protection plan were the youths of the demonic god guild, who were always ridiculed by the players. They were said to be a disgrace to the players. At that time, they posted crazily on the forum, calling for the players to protect the demonic god. After that, Guyu stood up and called for the players to protect the demonic god. He also stated that the demonic god would be their ally. Since the Myth Guild participated, the other major guilds naturally showed respect and joined the demonic god protection plan. Therefore, more players responded to the call and prepared to save the demonic god. The war between the Corpse Clan and the Player Clan broke out. Before the death battle between Hidorigami and the demonic god ended, the battle between the players and the Corpse Clan had already begun. In that battle, the players made the Corpse Clan understand that some corpses could not be retrieved. At that time, Meiba and the high-level corpse generals were severely injured during the battle with the demonic god. They were unable to stop the players from saving the demonic god. It was also that battle that caused the players to completely become enemies with the Corpse Clan. The kind that would not rest until one of them died. Although the players felt that they would not die at all, laughing emoji. Chapter 571. However, the Corpse Clan understood that they could not retreat. They could only fight. Seeing this, Gongda immediately retaliated. Due to the demonic god and Hidorigami, the players and the Corpse Clan were on different sides, which led to the outbreak of war. The players earned a lot from the dead man's riches, and their overall strength improved a lot. Lu Wu was no exception. These evil demon chef players came up with the 108 Corpse Spirit Dark Cuisine set. Newbie, this is not a good place. What crime did you commit? Since it was activity time, after Gongda put down his daily necessities, he was escorted to the field by the prison guard. As they walked through a passageway without cameras, the prison guard suddenly stopped and turned to look at Gongda. Gongda heard and shook his head again. As the escort vehicle drove in, the prisoners inside the barbed wire on both sides of the road looked at the rarely seen escort vehicle curiously. Different expressions appeared on their faces. We have the same skin color. You have no other choice but to join us. However, it's not easy to join me. You have to prove that you are useful to me. So, I'll give you a mission. If you can complete it, you'll join us. Its function was to collect evil corpse spirits and refine them into corpse spirit points. The players could use the corpse spirit points to cultivate single-use combat corpse spirit. This was the only way to kill the demonic god and destroy the player clan in Baki. Is your gang lacking a boss? They even treated it as a spice in their boring lives. Ha ha ha, hearing Gongda's reply, the group could not help but laugh. The leading black man was dizzy from the collision. He obviously did not expect Gongda to dare to resist him. Subsequently, many demon chef players also joined in the use of corpses. Because of the pay-to-win roulette this time, many impoverished players once again set their sights on the land of Sunluo. An escort vehicle drove over from afar, and the metal gate of Polesmore prison slowly opened at this time. At this moment, Gongda suddenly threw the basketball at the man's face. Then, he grabbed the man's neck and pressed it down. his knee went straight for the man's face. From this moment onwards, he was officially a member of this prison with a life sentence. However, this was not a good place. This was because it housed the most vicious criminals in the Republic of South Africa. It was where Pollsmoor Prison was located. The field was as big as 2 football fields, and it was divided into 5 areas. A, B, C, D, and E. After finishing the cigarette, the escort got into the car, and the prison guard turned his attention to the black man. Not only was everyone in Area B stunned, but a newcomer had used such a method to defeat an entire regional gang with his powerful strength. After all, they had bought the bodies of these corpse clan warriors from the auction house, and they had spent soul coins on them. Moonshine. When Gangda heard this, he spoke with a calm expression. Then, under the escort of the prison guards, he moved forward step by step. Under the gazes of the prisoners on both sides of the barbed wire, he entered a building in front of him. At this moment, Gangda's performance attracted the attention of everyone in Zone B. The furious subordinates also attacked at this time. Therefore, they held a food-tasting event and provided the corpse spirit cuisine set meal to the players for free. The grayish-white striped shirt was quickly torn in the fight, and his body was covered in wounds. However, Gangda was still full of fighting spirit. He roared like a beast, and every punch landed on flesh, knocking down one attacker after another. The smile on the man's face deepened. He took a step forward and patted Gangda's shoulder. However, those who could enter this place were not easy to deal with. They had all been stripped of their political rights, and were basically either life sentences or death sentences. Although most of the players were indifferent to this and had no intention of trying it out, there was no need to worry that no one would buy good things. Some rich players had even announced that they would save up a large number of corpse spirit points and create a Ghost King combat corpse spirit in one go. After all, the Demon Chef player's ability was to process the taste of food and remove all harmful substances. Even sh*t could be made delicious. They had wanted to use the corpses of the player clan to create a corpse mountain, and then expand their advantage to slowly nibble away at the player's power. However, they did not expect that not only would they not be able to collect the corpses, but the corpses of their clansmen would also be collected by the players. Breathing heavily, Gangda took off the torn clothes on his body, revealing his explosive muscles and the 3-headed black snake tattoo on his chest. Seeing this, Gangda laughed out loud. Looking at the greed on the prison guard's face, Gangda shook his head. On the other hand, the players were in a very good mood. Because these corpses could be sold for a good price. They could sell them to the rich players, to the Demon Chef players, and so on. In any previous battles, the Corpse Clan was already used to collecting the corpses of their enemies and then refining them into a part of the Corpse Mountain. Using war to nurture war, and relying on war to strengthen the clan's strength. There were even many corpses of Corpse Clan warriors that were put up for auction. The stronger the Corpse Clan warrior before death, the higher the price of soul coins sold. As soon as he said this, the lackeys behind him roared with laughter again. But after all, these food could provide real buffs and even permanent attribute points. However, the Demon Chef players were not satisfied with this. After all, if they made it and there were no sales, their losses would be very huge. But this time, in the war against the Corpse Clan, this building was once again put to use. After that, Gangda went through a series of physical examinations and met the prison warden. All the information handed over was recorded in the database. You'll regret it. Realizing that Gangda was so insensible, the prison guard's face darkened. So in this battle, the Corpse Clan had already fallen into a passive position. In less than 10 minutes, he knocked everyone from the Beast Clan to the ground. Hearing this, Gangda did not speak. This also formed an industrial chain. For the Demon Chef players, they only saw the abundant spiritual energy points in the bodies of the Corpse Clan warriors. This was like food that contained rich protein in reality. Its nutritional value was very high. Since there was a huge consumer group, Then what was lacking was the bodies of the Corpse Clan warriors. Now, they could only hope that Hitorigami would wake up soon. Instantly, cheers sounded from within the barbed wire, as if to welcome the arrival of this newcomer. Seeing this, Gangda walked towards him with large strides. "I don't have money." Looking at the gang leader struggling on the ground, Gangda suddenly turned to look at the prison guard on the other side of the metal door. A sinister smile appeared on his face. "Yes." At this time, the prison guard helped him remove the handcuffs and leg cuffs, and pushed him into the field. And the most popular way for civilian players to carry bricks had changed from fishing to moving corpses. Hearing this, Gangda nodded. And the richer the spiritual energy points in the ingredients, the higher the quality of the food, and the stronger the amplification effect. Facing this group of people's mockery, Gangda's face was cold. And the reason why the players collected the corpses of the Corpse Clan warriors was also very simple. It was because the corpses of the Corpse Clan were very useful to them. Seeming to realize that his behavior was embarrassing, the prison guard hurriedly took another step forward with an angry expression. The demand could be said to be very high. After a moment of contemplation, he glared at Gangda with slight reluctance, then led him through 2 checkpoints and entered the 707 room he was in. Other than that, there were many players who were trying to develop other ways to use the bodies of the Corpse Clan warriors, also wanting to join the ranks of earning soul coins. Not only did they not gain the slightest advantage from the players, but their overall strength was constantly being weakened. Not far from Gangda, the leader, a bald man with a scar on his face, waved at Gangda. In that blurry memory, he felt that he still had a name. The consequences of offending the prison guard was incomparably tragic. And so, this industrial chain also began to operate. However, the enmity between the player clan and the Corpse Clan was completely formed. Bang! Blood splattered. The arrival of the escort vehicle meant that a new prisoner was about to join their large group. The leader pointed at himself, then at his underling behind him. He could not help but laugh. "You don't have money? According to the information, you robbed a vault, and the gold has not been recovered until now." The greed on the prison guard's face surfaced again. Their numb life made them different from ordinary people. They were very happy to see others in pain, and they took pleasure in it. It could be said that they were the complete opposite. His fierce gaze scared the prison guard so much that he subconsciously took a step back. "Don't you know the rules here?" The prison guard frowned slightly. Looking at the black man's mocking expression, Gangda also laughed. He reached out and took the basketball. The Corpse Clan warrior who discovered this could be said to have an extremely complicated and gloomy mood. They suffered heavy casualties in the battle, but after the 3-hour cooldown period, they decisively threw themselves into the battle again. Only then did they manage to drag the huge body of the demonic god back to the Arctic abyss, which was also the land of Baki. "Hey newbie, come here." There was an ancient building in the mansion of the dead. The earliest Battle League players were very familiar with this building. It was the Corpse Refinery, P.S. Chapter 140 can be found in more details. In order to save the demonic god, the players spent a lot of energy. As the door opened, a burly, dark-skinned man who was about 1.9 meters tall slowly walked out of the prison van. He was wearing handcuffs and shackles. Therefore, eating the corpse spirit cooking set became an event that only brave warriors dared to challenge. Although he was fighting against dozens of people, Gangda did not panic at all. Over the past 6 months, the players gradually strengthened their own forces by using the Corpse Clan's method of plundering the forces of other clans. They also made full use of corpses. The players could throw the corpses of the Corpse Clan warriors into it and refine them into corpse spirit points, which could be used for one-time use as combat corpse spirit. Among them, the happiest one was Lu Wu. Although they knew that it was delicious, most of the players still felt disgusted and did not dare to try it. Even the foodie players who wanted to eat all the delicacies in the game did not dare to challenge these unconventional delicacies. South Africa. Hearing this, Gangda shook his head again. His expression did not change at all. The dark cage and the dense barbed wire were imprisoning free souls. Here, no one could have freedom. What? The leading black man looked very surprised. As he spoke, the prison guard closed the metal gate of the field. Let me ask you again. Do you guys lack a boss? The players who had run out of money only had one thought at this moment. It was time for them to carry bricks again. As long as no lives were lost, they would not bother. The black man was not angry and continued to speak. Seeing Gangda's arrival, the group of prisoners who were exercising on the field quickly gathered and walked toward Gangda. I didn't commit a crime. Just as the Baiki players were in full swing with the corpse clan of the land of Sanluo. It was as if he was once the king of a world in a distant period of time. It's very simple. Take this, find someone there, and throw it at his face. Remember, throw it with all your might. As he spoke, the leading black man took the basketball from his underling and pointed at the white people who were sitting in a circle not far away. If we can't jump out, we can still do it in 3 hours. Hence, there was a small group of players who bit the bullet and tried it. If they were punched, they would hit back. If they were kicked, they would kick back. What mission? Gangda asked. At this moment, the group of people walking toward Gangda was led by a black man with a scar on his face. Beside him, most of the people were black as well. There were more than 20 of them. During this period, the 2 godly state strongmen, the demonic god and Hitorigami, were both unconscious. At this moment, Gangda was in Zone B. I advise you to think about it carefully. Once you've made up your mind, you can look for me anytime. If the demonic god woke up first, their doomsday would come. Now, even if the Corpse Clan did not want to start a war, the players would not agree to it. This building was a special structure built during the invasion of the evil calamity. However, compared to the players, the Corpse Clan was getting more and more depressed in this battle. After panting for a moment, he slowly straightened his body and stepped on the head of the black man who had provoked him just now. As he spoke, the man turned his head and pointed at a group of white people who were also sitting together in Zone B. In a desert area far away from the city, under the endless yellow sand, there was an oasis. The prison guard who saw this was the same. No one here is guilty. We are all innocent just like you. No one could stop him. So what if Hitorigami woke up first? The players only wanted to say, why don't you King jump out of the game world and beat me up? In Area B there are a total of 2 gangs. One is the wild beast that I'm in, and the other is the poison of the white pigs. If you don't choose a gang to join, then your days here will be miserable. Whether the food was delicious or not was not a problem for the Demon Chef players. Some came in groups, some came in guild groups, and there were also groups of solo players. The Corpse Clan, who had not even had 2 days of peace, once again faced the evil forces of the players that gave them a huge headache. There was joy, mockery, and numbness. After a series of procedures, the prison guard brought Gangda to his cell, room 707. This scene did not make Gangda nervous. He continued to stand where he was quietly. Is there anything else? Gangda heard this, but there was no change in his expression. He looked at the field. Fortunately, Meiba and the corpse generals were all seriously injured in the battle to help Hitorigami stop the demonic god. They were unable to stop the arrival of the players, which allowed the players to successfully take the demonic god away. This was how the prisoners welcomed the newcomers. It had always been like this, and they were already used to it. At this moment, the prison guard came forward and greeted the escorts. He handed them a cigarette and started chatting with them. Is there anything you want to say to me? This was because the players had to pay a handling fee for using the corpse refining room. The players also had to pay a handling fee for buying and selling corpses in the auction house. In short, Lu Wu was the one who made the most out of the battle between the player clan and the corpse clan. How about this, share some with me. I promise you will have a good life here in the future. You have to understand what kind of place this is. Without my protection, a newcomer like you will have a terrible ending. After that, the Corpse clan attacked Baiki several times. The players did not show any mercy and attacked the land of Sunluo several times. This name had no meaning, but it had the unwillingness to live under someone else's roof. The burly black man wearing handcuffs and leg cuffs stood at the side. His expression was normal, not happy or sad. However, their faces were filled with schadenfreude. When the prison guard outside the barbed wire saw this scene, he turned a blind eye to it. He had no intention of stopping them at all. In fact, he even looked forward to it. However, the non-Western server had ushered in a huge revolution. The result was that it was delicious. As a prison guard in this desert area, one of their daily income came from the prisoners. You are Gangdao, right? Let's go and register. This will be your home from now on. As he spoke, a mocking smile appeared on the prison guard's face. The players could go to the land of Sunluo and kill a few Corpse clan warriors, which they could sell for a lot of soul coins. It seemed like an illusion, but it felt so real. Although there were not many customers, at least there were customers and they could make money. However, he did not want to be tied down here. Before he got what he wanted to be the king of this place. However, with the end of the evil calamity, this building was gradually abandoned in the city, and no one paid attention to it. However, when faced with the gangster forces of the players, not even a strand of hair would be left behind, not to mention corpses. Most of the prisoners who wanted to live a good life would choose to bribe the prison guard. This was because the prison guards had great power here. Chapter 572. These celestial realm gods all felt an inexplicable force constantly absorbing their divine power, but they could not find out where this force came from. Although he had all of this person's memories, he felt that his name should be Yu Yao, not Gangda. It was to let the newcomers understand the rules here, to know who was in charge, to be honest and obedient. In reality, the heavenly mystic deity Lord had always been investigating the underworld and human realm, and secretly plotting to stop the development of the two realms. But before that, he had to establish a strong reputation. At this time, in the artifact space, at the sound of the alarm, the emergency team with explosive shields quickly rushed over, and as the metal door opened, they rushed into the field in Area B. This was Mu Zhiguang, who had taken over Black Tiger's body and had his memories blocked. All of this was arranged by the heavenly mystic deity Lord. But in his coma, a blurry image appeared in Gangda's mind. But this was not the end. Gangda knew that the power in Area B alone was not enough to complete his prison break plan. He needed more helpers. Foreseeing danger for the celestial realm and dealing with it was his duty. Thus, his gaze turned from the underworld to the human realm. Then, he felt that his disintegrated self was being reformed. But the laws of the three realms clearly stated that celestial realm gods could not descend to the human realm. And there was another reason for choosing Africa. He did this so that he wouldn't be caught red-handed. It was all for the sake of caution. Everyone in this prison knew that there was a guy in Area B that they could not afford to offend. Stop! Stop, do you hear me? At this time, a golden figure appeared. But the heavenly mystic deity Lord did not give up. It was time to complete that vague mission. He felt that if this went on, he would really be beaten to death. Sweat flowed down his forehead, and his steel-like body shimmered under the light. He looked like a god of war, and he seemed to vaguely remember that he was once the king of a world, but there was no memory of this because if he said this, the prestige he had built up in front of his subordinates would be gone, and no one would be willing to follow him in the future. At this moment, the leader of the Beast Gang, who was used to being domineering in Area B, had a mental breakdown. It was a hazy place. In that area, his body was broken down bit by bit, turning into scattered pieces that slowly melted into the world. Looking at Gangda, the people who had been knocked to the ground fell silent, not daring to continue resisting. Gangda was lost amidst the chaos, but he knew that he had to leave as soon as possible. This time, no one dared to provoke Gangda, because they all knew that he was not to be trifled with. After so many years, their bodies might no longer be here, but the heavenly mystic immortal lord still decided to start his investigation from here. It was then that he snuck into the 6 paths of reincarnation. But he still felt that he was Yu Yao. The rules of survival in prison were different from those in the outside world. Those with bigger fists were stronger, and they were easily feared and respected. After Yu Yao's death, Lu Wu tried to recruit him, but Yu Yao refused. Although Lu Wu felt it was a pity, he did not force him to stay. After that, Bailey erased the memory of Lu Wu and herself from Yu Yao's consciousness and watched him step into the 6 paths of reincarnation with her own eyes. A little blood would make people remember him better, and fear would deepen the impression, so he showed no mercy. The guard on duty on the lookout immediately aimed his gun at Gangda. Therefore, Gangda felt that he was not himself, but Yu Yao. Moreover, there was always a strong desire to complete the mission in his mind, but he did not know what he should do. He just wanted to get out as soon as possible. He thought that he could hide from the detection of the Emperor of the Underworld, but he could not escape from Lil Bailey, who could control the 6 paths of reincarnation at any time. When he woke up again, he realized that he had become a different person. As for why he took Yu Yao's fragment, Lil Bailey knew better. This power would slowly transform this person's body, constantly strengthening his body. After that, Lu Wu was transferred back to number 2. Faced with Gangda's provocation, the criminals in the 5 districts began to fight openly and covertly. Some of the leaders with influence outside even bribed the prison guards to suppress Gangda. Although the Treaty of the 3 Realms mainly restricted the underworld and the human world, he had to look good on the surface. However, they did not provoke him, but Gangda took the initiative to find the leader of the Beast Gang. It was already night time. However, Gangda did not have the slightest intention of stopping. Seeing this, the prison guards quickly pressed the alarm. In a city in South Africa, Mu Zhiguang's figure appeared. However, what he did not know was that a certain boss behind the scenes had already discovered his existence. After becoming the boss of the Beast Gang, the first thing Gangda did was to provoke the leader of another gang in District B. Obviously, Gangda was a new monkey who broke the rules. However, the difference was that he beat up the old monkey. The prison guards and the warden wanted to see an obedient monkey, not a monkey who broke the rules like Gangda. This was because this kind of guy was full of uncertainty and could cause even more trouble at any time. Dong Wangtai even personally investigated for this, but it was to no avail. At this time, Gangda was already unconscious. He was carried into the treatment room by the medical staff for examination. Relying on the memory that Gangda left behind, he thought of a way to get out, which was to become the well-deserved king of this prison, then start a riot and escape in the chaos. At this time, if a new monkey was placed in the cage and it did not know this rule, it would want to touch the banana. Therefore, faced with the provocation of the leader of the Beast Gang, he did not hesitate to attack. This person sat cross-legged in a colorful mist, surrounded by divine aura. The dissipating golden light pushed the hazy mist away and stood in front of him. Then, he would punish the guy named Gangda and torture him to death. They quickly surrounded Gangda, their batons swinging down like raindrops. Actually, the immortal had taken away Yu Yao's soul in the 6 paths of reincarnation, but none of this escaped Lil Bailey's notice. In the end, the prison doctors quickly arrived and carried all the injured out of the field in District B. This cruel law of survival, mutual deception, was what the immortal wanted to see. Bang, bang, bang. However, they were naturally unwilling to be in the same team as the black people of the Beast Gang. This was a rule set by the Emperor of the Underworld and the Emperor of the Heaven Realm, and he could not break it. The information about Yu Yao being assassinated by the player clan was even more useless. Due to his identity, he could not personally go to the underworld, but at that time, he found a chess piece, and that was Tsangshu. He used the fact that Tsangshu wanted to save the immortals as leverage to get Tsangshu to continuously provide information about the underworld, and investigate if there were any rebellious intentions in the underworld. Therefore, he set his sights on the gangs in the other district. This mission was very vague. It seemed to be to find something important, but he was not sure how to do it. He only knew that he had to get out as soon as possible, and only then could he start this mission. If he did not stop Gangdao, he was afraid that someone would die. During this period of time in the heaven realm, there were actually a few gods who had abnormal physical conditions. According to Donghuang Tai, it was very likely that the damage caused by the negative body formed by these incomplete parts was caused to the original body. After taking away Yu Yao's soul, he carefully checked Yu Yao's memory to see if there were any traces of the North Sea and the others when this short-lived His Excellency was in office. However, he gave up after the investigation was fruitless. He locked a few monkeys in an iron cage, and hung a rope inside the cage with a banana hanging at the bottom. If any monkey touched the banana out of hunger, all the monkeys in the cage would be beaten by the experimenters. Gangda's arrival brought many unstable factors to the already chaotic prison. However, with the absolute difference in strength, not only did he fail, but he was also beaten up. Although they were all vicious criminals, it did not mean that they were not afraid of death. Facing Gangdao, whose strength was much higher than theirs, their hearts were filled with grievance and fear, and they did not dare to make the first move. Therefore, he thought of looking for an agent like Tsangshu to investigate the details of the remains of the gods in the human world. Fortunately, Yu Yao's memory of Bailey and Lu Wu had been erased, and he did not know the North Sea, so the heavenly mystic deity could not find any useful information. The man clenched his teeth and did not speak. Therefore, he found a human with a strong body to possess, and injected Yu Yao's soul into it. Then, he injected a trace of divine power. To be the boss in the prison, apart from strength, prestige was also very important. Lil Bailey was very clear about the identity of this deity. However, what the heavenly mystic deity did not know was that all his plans were completely exposed to Lu Wu and Lil Bailey. Back then, in order to eliminate the human world force, the ancestral leopard bloodline, there was a war between the heaven realm and the human realm. The remains of the sky-devouring lion, the spiritual mantis, and the elephant god had fallen here. It was after the North Sea had slaughtered the gods in the land of Baiki. The blurry memories, the strong sense of mission, all of this confused Gangda. However, facing the fully armed prison guards, Gangda, who had used up most of his strength, could no longer resist. He was smashed to the ground, and fell unconscious after a while. What he needed was someone who broke the rules. Choosing those big shots might be smooth in the early stages, but the abnormality of the big shots would cause a chain reaction. The impact would be too great and the risk of exposure would be very high. Even the two leaders in Block B took the initiative to bribe the prison guards in the confinement room, asking them to pass on Gangda's instructions. During this period, there would always be monkeys who could not help but want to touch the bananas, but without exception, all the monkeys would get beaten up. Everything was progressing in an orderly manner, and Gangda felt that the day of his prison break was not far away. Just like Tsangshu back then, he was just a brand new chess piece. Facing such a barbaric Gangda already made the other gang feel very uneasy, and when they faced him head-on, their momentum weakened. A day later, Gangda, who woke up in the infirmary, was severely punished. He was locked in the confinement room for a week, and was only given one meal a day. Beep, beep, beep. Previously, it was only him who bullied others, and this was the first time he was bullied like this. Because of this, he thought of revenge, and even sharpened the handle of his toothbrush, preparing to give Gangda a harsh blow, to let him know that he was not to be trifled with. Because of this, the mission he injected into Gangda's mind was also blurry, and would only become clearer as time passed. His idea was very simple. Since these deities with abnormal bodies left their missing body parts in the human world, then he would find these missing body parts and investigate the specific reason. A week later, Gangda, who had come out of the confinement room, once again came to the field in Block B. Someone had once studied the content of this. Previously, all the newcomers who came were obedient, and it was normal for them to be beaten up. Moreover, Gangda was a criminal to begin with, so it would seem very normal for him to go overboard. This law was the same in this prison. However, even though he was once again locked in the confinement room, he could still command the criminals in Block B with his powerful prestige. However, not only did Gangda not compromise, he even swung his fists to counterattack. The bronze divine tree, the elephant god, the heaven-devouring lion, the cloud-soaring dragon, the moon god, the spirit bug, and so on. This immortal lord had also done something before, and it was also him that caused Sangshu's heaven-defying plan to start. However, Gangda did not back down at all. As long as he was out of the confinement room, everything would be the same as before. However, apart from this name, he had no memory of Yu Yao. In the end, the monkeys all behaved themselves, understanding that touching a banana would result in a beating. This immortal lord could not sit still when faced with this hidden danger of the heaven-defying alliance. After using Sangshu and confirming that the current underworld could not give birth to a force like the heaven-defying alliance, he kicked Sangshu away without hesitation. However, the remaining people in the field in Block B were still in a state of shock. Clearly, this newcomer's domineering entrance had left them in disbelief. Because of this, the heavenly mystic immortal lord who had received the news began to investigate the matter. When newcomers arrived, they usually did not understand the rules here, so the old people would choose to use violent means to educate them. However, with the extremely powerful Gangda's iron fist, Block B was unified in the end. From then on, there was only one boss in Block B, and that was Gangda. Although the great emperor could use the power of the 6 paths of reincarnation, he was not the ruler of the 6 paths of reincarnation, so he was very confident in sneaking in this time. As expected, Gangda was locked in the confinement room once again. Lu Wu and Lil Bailey were observing Gangda's every move through the artifact. Committing a crime, going to prison, robbery, gang crime. Everything felt very unfamiliar to him. Now I'll ask you again, who's the boss? Gangda asked the man under his foot with a sinister smile. Seeing this, Lu Wu and Lil Bailey discussed for a while and decided to punish him. In the end, he found a clue, and that was that these gods were heavily injured in the Battle of the 3 Realms, and left behind parts of their bodies in the human world. It was after that that the immortal appeared. Gangda's performance shocked everyone in Block B. Seeing that there was no reply, Gangda raised his foot with a sinister smile, and then stomped hard on the man's face. Every newcomer who arrived had to be beaten up. This was also one of the rules here, and it was not just simple humiliation. The leader of the Beast Gang, who still refused to lower his head, was beaten up by Gangda again, and his bruised face was licked with new wounds. He even personally met the immortal emperor, Dong Wang, and asked for guidance. However, the method of punishment naturally could not be exposed, and they could not show up in person. This was a lesson for the troublemaker like him. Such a stubborn Gangda also gave the prison guards a huge headache. Because of this, they fiercely threatened Gangda, and even used underhanded methods to beat Gangda up. What they faced was endless interrogation and investigation. However, something happened later that made the heavenly mystic deity Monarch vigilant again. On the 4th time, the leader of the Beast Gang finally could not take it anymore, and chose to lower his head, recognizing Gangda as the boss. He became a thorn in the side of the prison guards and the warden, but Gangda's prestige was established in this prison. Therefore, he wanted to investigate the memory of Yu Yao, the short-lived His Excellency of Baiki, to see if he knew anything about the North Sea, Frozen, and the other descendants of the heaven-defying alliance. He only modified the strength of his body to the limit of the human body, and then sent him to South Africa. However, before completing this mission, he had to do one thing. After that, he used the artifact to extract all the soul energy in his body, but modified his body, with the goal of making him look like a normal human. At this time, he suddenly remembered that he still had Yu Yao's soul fragment, which could be used at this time. The heavenly mystic deity monarch, a person who had experienced the War of the Three Realms, had the same status as the bronze god tree, and was second only to the immortal emperor of the heaven realm. Therefore, the balance between the two gangs was broken, and Block B became extremely chaotic, with fights happening every day. At this moment, the prison guard watching from behind the iron gate could not sit still anymore, and immediately took out his baton and started hitting the iron gate. After closing his eyes to check the mission that Lu Wu sent through the artifact, Mu Zhiguang's lips curled up. There was another reason why he chose Gangda as the target of possession, other than this person's extremely strong body. Who's the boss? At this time, there was no need for the experimenter to stop him. The monkeys in the cage would beat up this new monkey who wanted to break the rules first. However, the appearance of the descendant of the heaven-defying alliance, North Sea, made the heavenly mystic deity monarch feel uneasy again, so he decided to observe the underworld again. However, when he came out again, Gangda was still the same. He came to the field, and asked the leader of the beast gang who was the boss. It was simple and clear: fight if you're not satisfied. Other than that, he still had a very urgent mission to complete.